Nerdrotic.com.
Hello! I'm a little off center there. That's better. I don't know. We want to keep Gandalf in or Odin? Gandalf or Odin? Let's do Gandalf today because we've got some breaking news. We're going to start off with some breaking news. Lord of the Rings on Amazon has a premiere date. It's a long time from now. September, I think it's 22nd, or no, it's September 2nd, a lot of twos in there, 2022. We are going to get our feminist Lord of the Rings, intersectional feminist Lord of the Rings. I hope we don't, but we will. The Lord of the Rings series at Amazon officially has a premiere date. The highly anticipated epic fantasy series will debut on the streamer on September 2nd, 2022, with new episodes dropping weekly. After that, filming was completed on the first season of the show on August 2nd. That's today in New Zealand, which was yesterday. Amazon has also released the first official image from the series, which you can see above. We can see above. I can barely see that. And honestly, it could be Numenor. I'm trying to figure out what that is right there, but who knows? Who knows? Little is known about the plot of the series to date, including the official title. But it is known that it will take place during the so-called second age. And that's how Amazon is approaching it, by the way, the so-called second age. Thousands of years prior to the event of the Lord of the Rings books and The Hobbit. The series follows an ensemble cast of characters both familiar and new as they confront the long-feared reemergence of evil to Middle-earth. The journey starts September 2nd, 2022. We already know that. I can't express enough just how excited we all are to take our global audience on a new epic journey through Middle-earth. Our talented producers, cast, creative, and production teams have worked tirelessly in New Zealand to bring this untold and awe-inspiring vision to life. The cast includes a bunch of people we talked about. The series is led by Jodie Payne and Patrick McKay, which is the biggest concern. As Bilbo says, now I think I'm quite ready to go on another journey, except there won't be any hobbits in the second age, or will there be hobbits in the second age? Now, just some guy, and many of you have made me aware that the Tolkien Society, the seminar is up. I have been working on that. That's why you did not get a Star Trek video. That's why you didn't get a Black Widow video. So I figured I'd just talk about all that stuff here. That's what I do on live stream. So we're going to discuss Alex Kurtzman getting extended. We're going to discuss the Black Widow lawsuit and all of this happening right after, Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall depart Doctor Who. Also, after the week Ghostbusters premieres And that trailer is the most important thing. That's our little ray of hope that we need to hang on, because that's the first franchise to figure it out. After they made a massive mistake, it's the first major franchise to go, you know what? Maybe we're doing something wrong here. Now you're starting to see all of our illustrious intellectual property owners kind of go their separate ways on how they're going to deal with the problem of failure. And what I mean by failure is certainly they made money, obviously, because they consider all of you consumers. And quite frankly, there's a lot of consumers out there, but I don't consider, especially people here in the chat, which, by the way, you're looking really good today. Just want to say, you're customers, you're fans, you're not consumers of content, but that is what CBS thinks you are. You're just a giant open mouth. Now, we're about 10 days away from the Star Trek convention and Vegas, baby. And when I go to that Star Trek convention and I take a picture for you all, you will not be able to tell a difference between, say, Star Trek Las Vegas from AARP Las Vegas, because it'll be a bunch of 40-plus-year-olds, and that's average age. There's going to be a lot of silver in that audience. And I'm not saying I'm a pup, because I'm not. I fall right in the middle of what their core audience is: old people, aging out people, and a Prodigy cartoon or Lower Decks isn't helping. So let's get right into that, shall we? So there was a press event. We'll talk more about Lord of the Rings later, but that news just hit. Thanks to Eric K. for shooting that to me right before the show started. That's why I was a little late. I was kind of pre-reading this, and the article says nothing. There was a press event yesterday. This was not organic. This was planned. And this is Paramount Plus's last-ditch effort to pitch for subscribers. So they decided to swing for the fences. There was a New York Times article, and there was a press release that went out to, I believe, the Hollywood Reporter, lavishing praise on Alex Kurtzman, which I'm sure you all were very shocked and surprised to see that, and I was surprised to see it, but then I thought about it, and I wasn't surprised. Now, we need to talk about the very serious subject of retarded people with money, and that's what we have in Hollywood. First of all, before we go to the New York Times article, we need to go to take a look at the people who are actually responsible, because you know what, Alex Kurtzman, we know what we're getting at this point. We're getting, in my opinion, a thief and a hack continuing to destroy Star Trek for 5 more years. Okay. Wow. Big win for the Drekkies there. You get shitty Star Trek for 5 more years. Well done. Well done. Congratulate yourselves. Take your victory lap. I've made my peace a long time ago. Star Trek has been dead for a long time, and it will continue to be dead. And now it has cemented its lack of legacy. The legacy is now broken. What you are now doing is destroying the past. Every minute of new Star Trek Alex Kurtzman makes destroys the chance of you being able to sell older Star Trek. What have I always said? The worst thing that could happen to Star Trek is to have Alex Kurtzman make more of it. This is way too zoomed in. Hang on, let's zoom this out. These are the people responsible. So we could certainly, Alex Kurtzman's a hack. Again, we know what we're getting. But here are the people responsible for destroying Star Trek. This is the upper management, the board of CBS or Viacom CBS. These are the idiots with money. These are the bankers that have been destroying our franchises. And they, you know what? They don't get enough attention. So let's start giving them attention, shall we? We've got Raphael here, who is the CEO, the international CEO of Viacom. We got Bob Bakish, the CEO and president. Alex Burkett. But the main culprit here is George Cheeks. Look at this little guy. Look at Doogie right there. That's the guy who said, when Alex Kurtzman walked into the office, I knew he was the future of Star Trek. I don't think there's any other face that says Hollywood douche better than that face right there. Nothing personal against the guy, but that's your man right there who destroyed Star Trek, sealed its fate, destroyed its legacy. We go down here, and these are the people that are destroying your franchises, ladies and gentlemen, including Maeve, or what's her name? Marve Smalls, who is the executive vice president, global head of inclusion. There is an inclusion executive at Viacom CBS. Doesn't look like she's doing her job very well, to be honest with you. Just saying. I mean, so what do we have left but to laugh? I mean, look at me. I'm an idiot. I gave Alex Kurtzman $150 million. That's not something I would be proud of. I would be smiling about. I would be embarrassed. And if you judge the reaction by everyone, it was just anguish. It was people cringed. It's inexplicable. It defies logic. But that's Hollywood. I mean, that's fucking Hollywood in a nutshell. When we get something like Star Trek, it's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. One that cannot be repeated. You can try. What better example than Star Trek? You had multiple shows over 5 decades with a well-established aesthetic, a well-established formula that all you needed to do was follow. But Alex Kurtzman, who has never done an original thing in his life, decides he's going to make, well, first Jar Jar wanted to make Star Trek Star Wars. Alex Kurtzman wants to make Star Wars Marvel. And the funniest thing about this is Marvel's not even Marvel anymore. So Hollywood is where trends go to die. Hollywood is where bankers and corporate Hollywood now run everything. Not a single person on this fucking board watches fucking Star Trek. Not a fucking minute of their own content. These people are off at their cocktail parties. Star Trek is just a widget to these people. It's just a widget. It's product. It's content. Storytelling doesn't mean shit. Obviously, they gave Alex Kurtzman $150 million. So we had a New York Times article that I will pull up here that pretty much says it all. It tells you exactly why they gave Alex Kurtzman money. And if you lived in a world where you didn't watch any of this stuff and all you saw was the bottom line, I still don't know how you give him a contract, because there has never been any sign of any kind of getting near or sniffing success with this show. It doesn't trend on Twitter. There's no product lines, although they're planning a product line. Alex Kurtzman has had Star Trek for 5 years now. 5 years. Well, where did it go? Here we go. This is easier to do this. There we go. And look at this pretentious picture. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see. Look at that. Little duck lips. And I like how it, right down the middle, because he's a two-faced little so-and-so. And based on just what we've heard recently, we've had an actor come out and said it was one of the most, quote-unquote, toxic work environments he's ever worked on. We had another lady come out, PJ from Orville Nation talked to her, where she was part of they would call in, I guess, story groups. I guess that's the best. I don't have the term for it, but it was a group of people to pitch ideas, right? And they would contract them to do this. They would take their ideas, not give them credit. Now, maybe they told them up front, and I would never join something like that. And they'd send them packing. And in some cases, apparently they weren't getting paid on time. I don't really know. But, you know, we had Walter Mosley. Just time and time again, there has been accusations. Well, of course, there's Anas Abdeen, who only lost his lawsuit because he didn't have, well, he was taking on $1 billion company. I doubt you could call Paramount Plus a success at this point. The Viacom CBS stock went from $100 a share, which was artificially inflated, to $40 a share, where it's pretty much stayed. And, you know, other than maybe this is the philosophy you get in sports ball, where you got a coach who does okay but not great. That coach breaks through and you make it to the playoffs once or twice. But instead of ownership pulling the trigger, they'd rather stay with somebody they're comfortable with. Yeah, I was a Charger fan. I saw this all the time. Norv Turner. They're staying with the guy that got them there, which is the worst philosophy to practice, right? And no, it is very difficult to wrap one's head around this decision, other than this is possibly the second dumbest move in the history of Hollywood, outside of Jar Jar Abrams not putting Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene together, which was the single dumbest move in the history of filmmaking. Can Paramount Plus succeed? I don't think so. One producer hopes to make it so. He's our future, one CBS studio executive said of Alex Kurtzman, who has a lucrative contract to expand the Star Trek universe and with it, the streaming services audience. And his plan has been to expand. The only thing he's succeeded in doing is creating content. And apparently that's all they need. And they say it within for one, this New York Times article was part, again, of a coordinated event. And this New York Times article happens to be the best piece of fiction CBS has produced in 5 years. Nicole Sperling is a hack and a shill for writing this. This was practically written for her by CBS. No objective human being could possibly say the things she's about to say. Like so many other writer-directors, Alex Kurtzman grew up worshiping film. Can't tell. But you can tell. He likes to borrow things a lot. But he is adaptable. And in the streaming era, that is a very lucrative trait. So right there, you have your answer. Why did they give Alex Kurtzman that much money? Because he doesn't say no to the executives. He doesn't stand up. He is a lickspittle. He does whatever they ask. I'm sure when somebody passes down some notes, he goes, sure. He's very adaptable. Mr. Kurtzman, the one-time writer of the Transformers movies and the director of the 2017 film The Mummy, also, he helped destroy the Dark Universe franchise, helped derail a Spider-Man franchise, which you have to try. And he had some successes, some minor successes in television, but those were with other people when he was around, like Lindelof with, I believe it was Fringe. And, of course, my phone is going to go off right now. Hang on. Jesus Christ.
Nerdrotic.com.
Give me a moment. All right. Where was I? I put my phone behind me. And of course, my alarm goes off. So this is why I hate phones. There we go. All right. Where was I? So he's had some minor successes. He's, Fringe was okay. That was probably the only thing he worked on. Sleepy Hollow, again, was another property that he reinvented, which was basically a ripoff of Doctor Who. And look what else he's going to do. The Man Who Fell to Earth. I'm sure that'll be great. And he's producing The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, probably to appease Michael Chabon so he won't talk too much after they unceremoniously got rid of his ass during Picard. But he's going to produce it somewhere else, not at CBS. Mr. Kurtzman's deal is the latest in a string intended to give prolific producers like Shonda Rhimes and Ryan Murphy for Netflix and Jordan Peele with Amazon Studios free reign to create content that can feed insatiable consumer appetites and hopefully boost subscriptions for streaming. This one puts the ambitions of CBS Studios, the production arm for the networks and channels under the Viacom CBS umbrella, squarely in the hands of the 47-year-old Alex Kurtzman. They are fucked. This is hilarious. So what is going on here is I'll use another sports ball reference. It's a free agent frenzy. Remember when free agency first came to the NFL? I remember when there was no free agency in the NFL. Well, people went nuts. They overspent. And then over time, they learned that they overspent. If you want to use a Hollywood analogy, in the, I believe, late 90s, early 2000s, actors' salaries went through the roof. They started paying actors like up front, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars for a movie. And then they found out real quick that was dumb. Because even in the late 90s, movie stars weren't putting butts in the seats like they used to. And that's why they have, to use another butt reference, back end deals for Hollywood. And that's why Scarlett Johansson is suing right now. And that's why Emily Blunt was in that terrible fucking Jungle Book movie, which I saw, and I'm going to talk about that. And there are no movie stars anymore. So everything is producer driven now, and we could thank Kevin Feige for that. The success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is something that everybody is trying to copy. And you can't copy that because you have to, for one, establish your foundation, which Alex Kurtzman has not done. Alex Kurtzman has created, what, 4 seasons? It's 4 seasons. Or is it 3 seasons? Of Star Trek Discovery. It's, my God, I forgot how many seasons. I've seen every season. It doesn't matter. And Picard, a season of Picard and Lower Decks, and they're still stuck on the launching pad. Like, again, nobody talks about Star Trek. There is no, there's no merchandise. It doesn't trend on Twitter. They've never showed us any real numbers. When it was on terrestrial TV, it failed miserably. It got beaten soundly by game show reruns. Game show reruns, which is hilarious. So they give this guy $160 million, not $150 million, by the way, and a 5.5-year contract. Does anybody think that Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek will still be around in 2026? I mean, it might. I just don't know how Paramount Plus survives that. And when you spend so much money so wildly up front, and you only did it because Shonda Rhimes got a big check and Ryan Murphy got a big check, so we got to give our guy a big check, and you gave it to the wrong guy. But I showed you the board just a minute ago. These people don't watch these fucking shows. They don't care. They don't give a fuck what we think. As far as like what we do here on YouTube. What I was told is we get under their skin. I don't know if we sway anything, but we get under their skin. And I'm perfectly happy doing that. I'll do what I can. But you can't stop somebody from being stupid. You just can't. They're going to go ahead and be stupid. So be stupid. As far as anybody who was holding out hope that Star Trek would somehow, like they would fire Kurtzman in a year and then quickly turn things around, that was never going to happen. That was just never going to happen. This thing, again, if they fire him next year and decide to break the contract or whatever, it would have to take a minimum of a 5-year break. Probably 10 to maybe work or get something worse. I am of the mind that franchises aren't going to work anymore. That guaranteed money that Hollywood loves so much, they are destroying it because they have never taken the time to understand why they work. That would be way too much work. I mean, they don't take the time to watch the fucking shows that they're given a lot of, like Alex Kurtzman given this much money, even before with $25 million, didn't sit down, didn't take the time and watch all the shows. He's far too busy. But look what this guy says. Okay, the Cheeks. I showed you George Cheeks earlier. From the first meeting I had with Alex, it was obvious to me that he's our future. Oh, let's go take a look at Cheeks one more time. Let's take a look at Cheeks one more time. There he is. Right there. That's the guy who said that. Do you think this guy's watched a second of Star Trek? No. He probably calls it Star Trek. He probably doesn't know track. Well, he probably doesn't know what's the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. But a very interesting answer here. The guy can develop for broadcast. He can develop for premium streaming, broad streaming. He understands the business. He's got tremendous empathy. He's creatively nimble. When he makes these investments, Mr. Cheeks continues, you need to know that when you make these investments, Mr. Cheeks continues, you need to know that this talent can actually deliver multiple projects at the same time across multiple platforms. We need to have Widget to create content to release them on multiple platforms so the open trough, that is the consumer, can consistently be fed. Yeah, this is exactly why there will be no franchises. No more franchises. Too big to succeed. Creatively nimble. He's creatively nimble when it comes to bullshit. I'll give him that. And I'm not even mad at Kurtzman for this. These are the guys, George Cheeks are the guys you got to be mad at. If somebody's going to offer Kurtzman $150 million, he's going to take it. He's probably as surprised, although no, he had been renegotiating this deal for a fucking year. And instead of CBS doing, I don't know, the right thing, telling him to pound sand and getting right on fixing this franchise. But it sucks. We lost Star Trek. We did. But have your I told you so's ready. Because if Ghostbusters is a success, and that's an if right now, and it's not because the movie looks good. It's the first franchise to use the Cobra Kai model. You know, everybody's comparing it to Stranger Things, but I see it more of a Cobra Kai thing. I think they're the one studio who listened and said, maybe we should do that Cobra Kai thing because it's successful, number one. And number two, there's no audience divide there. It's a fucking love fest. It's an orgy of adoration. And that's very similar to what Stranger Things was in the beginning, too. Now, Stranger Things, could it have been a franchise? Yeah, if it wasn't at Netflix. Unfortunately, with anything that's successful now, we're going to get a Boys, a Witcher, a Stranger Things. We're going to get a solid first season, a Westworld, a solid first season. And back in the day, when you had a solid first season in television, you were just relieved. You didn't even get enough time to enjoy that, because now you have to have that second season, which is the most important thing. That sets your pace for your show. That's why we got a Buffy and an Angel and a fucking Star Trek and the Next Generation. Shit, the Star Trek first seasons weren't outside of Star Trek. It's not the original series. It's Star Trek. Had rough go in the beginning, but they made it, because those second and third seasons got better, not worse. It didn't go to their head. Nowadays, if you get to second season, like, everybody thinks that, who runs a show thinks they've won. Like, oh, okay, we've got a mandate now. We've got, we've got credibility. We're set. No, you're just getting started. And what it does is it goes to their head. They start putting in their own bullshit in it. And this is where we're at. This should be a renaissance, folks. This should be a fucking renaissance. There is stupid money going through Hollywood right now. They're going through a paradigm shift into the streaming service, which they're going to find out is not going to be as lucrative as making blockbusters, where you can make hundreds of millions of dollars. By the way, that's dead. Deader than fucking dead. There's a big fucking problem that Hollywood is ignoring right now. That isn't talking about, which we'll get to. I'll give you a hint. I was at a dumb Disney movie yesterday on a weekend, on its opening weekend, in an empty IMAX theater. Fucking empty. And the entire theater was empty. I'm in Southern California. It was a fucking hot day. The air conditioner was working. The popcorn was good. Nobody at this fucking theater. It was fucking ghost town. They're in trouble. They're in big fucking trouble. And they're in real trouble when you got George Cheeks saying Alex Kurtzman has tremendous empathy and is creatively nimble. You fucking retard. Oh, Hollywood is a retard. The road ahead won't be easy for Viacom CBS. Oh, wait. Let's check their stock. Let's do a quick stock check, or chalk stack. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Viacom CBS stock. Oh, no. It didn't help, everybody. They didn't get the Kurtzman bump. And Kurtzman doesn't give a fuck. Remember in that good Kevin Smith? Remember when fat Kevin Smith was cool and he did a movie called Jay and Silent Bob? And that scene with Gus Van Sant just counting his money. I'm counting. That's what Kurtzman's doing. Let's see. That's 3. Okay, so that was 220. That's the last day. Let's go 5 days. Oh, no. So yesterday, let's see, it was announced that about... Why does it jump? Oh, I guess August 1st doesn't count. So there we are at 9 a.m. Here we are at 3:44 p.m. Eastern time. $40 a share. If we go back 6 months. Oh, no! What happened? That's right when they launched Paramount Plus. It was at $100 March 22nd. of 2021. What happened? Well, they launched Paramount Plus, which was basically putting a new wrapper on CBS All Access, which was CBS All Ass. It was genuinely, and I would say objectively, as a streaming service, if it was a good streaming service, I would tell you it was garbage. Stuff is your content is always spitting. That gets the little spinning wheel. It's always dying out. It's pixelated. It looks terrible. The only one that might be worse is HBO Max, which is garbage as far as a streaming service. They have better content, but it's absolute garbage as far as a streaming service. Disney Plus, not that great. Netflix and Amazon Prime are the clear best by far. And I'd say Hulu, but Netflix, cutie loving bastards that they are, have good 4K. It looks really good when I don't pay for it. So yes, on March 22nd, there was a massive drop off. And by the 26th, they were at $45. And since March 29th of this year, it has been stagnant. So let's read. I'm not going to read the entire New York Times article because it's fucking infuriating. It is infuriating. This is the bullshit that we're fighting every day now. And they're starting to believe their own bullshit. Of course, Hollywood is, it's the town of illusion. Put in its simplest terms, they fool you and I. We volunteer to be tricked, to be fooled into believing that a 20-foot torso or a 2-inch torso on a phone is a real person that we can root for or identify with on a human level. Not, they don't have to look exactly like me. And we root for them. We cry when they die, and we volunteer for this. And in the past, they've been very good at this. But now what Hollywood excels at is marketing. Their marketing far exceeds their actual content. And now they are starting to believe their own bullshit. That's the only way I could explain this. Other than Kurtzman has pictures of somebody, I don't believe that. No, I think they're that dumb. They're that ignorant to their own product. And this is Viacom CBS is, who knows, maybe they're setting up for a sale at this point, and this is a way, if they're selling Viacom CBS, then they don't give a fuck, and this is a way to help out Kurtzman and lock the next company into, but I mean, that's not going to help your sale. It's not going to help. I don't think Netflix is going to go, oh boy, we love what Kurtzman has done. The road won't be easy for Viacom CBS. Its fledgling Paramount Plus was a late entry into streaming and is essentially a rebranded and expanded version of CBS All Access. The company promotes the service's news and live sports, including National Football League games, along with a mountain of movies. A Quiet Place 2 debuted on it on July 13th. But Paramount Plus, in combination with a smaller Showtime streaming offering, had just 36 million subscribers as of May. And might I add, those are not all active subscribers. They include paused subscribers, which essentially means that's everyone who was signed up for both Showtime and CBS All Access. That's all that is. That is not active subscribers. That is not people watching Paramount Plus. This is just fucking hearsay, so take it for what it is. This is not fact or anything. But the numbers I heard were astronomically low. For example, the Star Trek shorts that were put out, they didn't even hit 50,000 views. 50,000 views. And they cost I think the shorts cost a couple $3 million to make, and they were made during the filmings of season 1 and season 2, which were some of the most expensive television ever made until they started making Lord of the Rings. More expensive than The Mandalorian. Clocking in at 10 to 12 million an episode for that garbage. At least The Mandalorian looks good. I'll give you that. It looks great. Whew. So what keeps Paramount Plus around is the NFL. I don't think it's their live news. I mean, their live news is probably some of the, again, I hate to use this joke twice, but their live news is the best fiction that's on their streaming service. While it hopes, there's a lot of fucking hope here. How do you feel as an investor? By the way, if you're an investor out there and I am not, I don't play the stock game or anything, but I know nerds. I know quality. At least I think I do. I wouldn't invest if I were you in this. Try something else. While it hopes to reach 65 million to 75 million global subscribers by 2024, that's still a far cry from Netflix's worldwide total of almost 210 million and nearly 104 million for Disney Plus. Even NBC Universal announced on Thursday it had 54 million signups for Peacock streaming service thanks to the Olympics. That's a key word there. Signups. So as soon as you sign up, be it for the 7-day free trial or 30-day free trial, then you cancel, you are considered a subscriber. And there's probably some wording somewhere where it says so. Maybe I'll look. And with consolidation mania consuming Hollywood, many analysts are not confident that Viacom CBS will be able to continue to compete with the larger companies on its own. Well, they absolutely, positively sealed their fucking fate yesterday. Again, well done. That was stupidity on a level that I didn't even think Hollywood is capable of. I mean, you went to the top of Retard Mountain and you conquered. I think it's hard to imagine any of these companies going it alone. I think they are all too small, says Richard Greenfield, an analyst at Lightshed Partners. The challenge, whether it's Peacock, Paramount, Disney, or Hulu, is that all of these companies are still conflicted over what do they put on linear TV and what do they put in a movie theater and what do they put on streaming. Netflix, Amazon, Apple do not have that debate every day. All their assets going into one thing. Here, they have to balance, and that's what makes all of their streaming services suboptimal. Okay. Me can read the words. And it's going to be very hard, because a company does not like to give up a revenue stream. Okay? They just don't like to do it. And as far as DVD, physical media sales, they are still very strong around the world. They're pretty strong here too, but when I was making Blu-rays and DVDs, and doing compression and doing pre-mastering for Paramount, DVD still outsold Blu-ray fucking 100-1. And they were far more difficult to work on because you were compressing more stuff onto a much smaller space. It was much easier to work on a Blu-ray. But because Sony was proprietary, and it probably should have gone to the HD format instead, and it probably would have broke through more, but it didn't. The public chose, and that sealed the fate for physical media. So the rest of the world, which couldn't afford Sony PlayStations, was able to continue with DVDs, and they were fine with it. And that was back in 2011. I'm sure it's much worse now. The other thing is everything is fragmented in Hollywood, And Hollywood just spent 4 years pissing off half the country. And that's another thing that they won't bring up. It's the same thing that the comic industry will not bring up. It's the giant elephant or gorilla or whatever you want to say, or brontosaurus in the room of you alienated, let's put a number on it, 150 million Americans. People like to use the number 73 million. I would say double that. And I think that, and when you're in an era where you cannot afford to lose a single fucking customer. So one company decides with one of their biggest franchises to do something right. Well, it looks like do something right. Now, I'm not just basing this on the trailer. I went and watched a 15-minute Ivan Reitman commentary. It was this weekend. I went down a huge Ghostbusters rabbit hole because you know what? I'm a nerd. So when I'm excited about something, I see something I like, I want to know everything about it. Absolutely everything about it. And I found that commentary was buried on an IGN page, and it was great. It was fucking great. And you have Jason Reitman going over the entire trailer and telling you exactly what went behind all of this, every single second of Ghostbusters. And it was love of the franchise, respect of the franchise. Now, we wanted to do something different, which is fine when you take the main characters and you respect them. And let's take Ghostbusters and put it in a small town. Let's Cobra Kai. I know people say Stranger Things. I still believe it's Cobra Kai. Let's usher in a new generation in a different way while centering the whole story around the one unfortunately dead, rest in peace, Harold Ramis. And I think it's a great idea centering the story around them. And let's just make us it doesn't need to be a big epic film. Let's, sometimes simple is better. We have a saying in recovery, keep it simple, stupid, and it works. And that's what Hollywood needs to do. But right now, they are just throwing shit at the wall and not acknowledging that we've pissed off half of America. Now, Sony, by not being political, and that's simply what we're asking is don't be political. Just don't do it. You guys can't afford it. You know what? This needs to be the year of fan service. That might be pushed off to next year, but that's what it needs to be. I mentioned this on Friday Night Tights. Try to clear from your mind that everything you've experienced over the last 4 years with woke Hollywood and divisive Hollywood and cringe Hollywood. And imagine it was 2012 or 2013 and you heard, you got the news that we're not only going to get a Loki show, we're going to get a Scarlet Witch and Vision show. We're going to get a Bucky and Falcon show. We're going to finally get a Black Widow solo movie. We're going to get a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, possibly Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. We're going to get a fucking Flash movie. Yeah, it's got Ezra Miller, but it's got Michael Keaton. We're going to get the Suicide Squad. They're going to make Dune. We got a Lord of the Rings series. A nerd would have a nerd boner for a year straight. It would be just like, this is the greatest time ever. But what is the most of the audience is, oh, I just hope they find a way not to make it. We hope that, of course, all the actors and people working on the project get paid, but somehow your project is sidelined and it can never be released. That's what we hope for. Shit, we had Star Trek, Doctor Who, on the air together. We had Star Wars TV shows. And it all sucked. Like every single bit of it sucked. You have to try. And they did. They did try. The message became much more important than the story. And then you compound that with all the normal problems that go along with Hollywood, which is it's a miracle when you get something good. You got to fight egos and money, mostly egos. And now we're seeing, back in the day when the psychotic creative visionary like Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, James Cameron, they would scream, Joss Whedon, they would scream, they would yell, but they were considered artistic geniuses. I miss those days. Now, the people who succeed are the people who kiss the ass the most, who get the notes from the douchebag producer who's never watched a frame of footage of anything, and they go, sure. I mean, shit, Bob Iger was giving notes to Jon Favreau for The Mandalorian, the CEO of the company. Imagine if we hired you to create this show from scratch and write it and run it from scratch. Oh, by the way, I'm a former weatherman, and I'm gonna give you, Jon Favreau, creator of one of the architects of the MCU, maker of one of the greatest Vegas movies ever made, Swingers. I'm gonna give you notes. Those corporate considerations don't seem to bother Mr. Kurtzman. There's your answer. He is an ass-kissing yes man. Rather than bemoaning the diminished state of movies or anguishing over the lack of viable buyers as the market shrinks, he said he was finding the current climate to be creatively invigorating and remarkably fluid. Whoa! I remind you that Alex Kurtzman also is a scab. He crossed the line. Now, personally, fuck unions. Sorry, but fuck unions. But he did cross the line during the writer's strike. And he's the kind of guy, like, again, I don't like unions, but like loyalty, let's balance it with loyalty, and we're trying to get some done. He looks like the kind of guy, he's the first guy who would turn. Look at this little, I'm just going to wear my jean jackets. I think it's really a invigorating and remarkably fluid creative environment for me to, well, yeah, you have a big company backing you, and you can rip off, in my opinion, as many ideas as you want, and you're going to be fine because no one will be able to sue you. Of course, it's a remarkably creative environment. People copyright your shit, and never let Alex Kurtzman into your house. I do believe the line between movies and television is gone now. And that, to me, is a tremendous opportunity, he said in an interview. For me, and for showrunners like me, we can tell stories in a new way. We are not limited by the narrow definition of how to tell a story. You don't know how to tell a story. You mean the narrow definition of actually telling a story? Is that too narrow for you? I believe I could just put words together and they don't have to have any connectivity. They can just be words strung along together. Because that's what Star Trek Discovery is here's action scene. Oh, Space Jesus, we love you. Cry. Oh, action scene. Space Jesus comes in and saves everybody. Cry. That's pretty much what happens. Something must be told in 10 hours or something must be told in 2 hours. I'm trying to see if I want to read any of this. And, well, that right there. That's the power of Jar Jar Abrams, who arguably is now, because of, I think Spielberg is the most powerful man in Hollywood. Jar Jar Abrams is the second most powerful man in Hollywood. And it isn't just the content he creates. It's his wife co-founding the Time's Up group, which has been used to oust a lot of competition and which helped Jar Jar get a $500 million paycheck from Warner Brothers, which still remains far more retarded than giving Alex Kurtzman $150 million. I mean, Alex Kurtzman's already fucked up Star Trek, and I'm sorry, but the prospect of Batman and Superman getting fucked up by this piece of shit, fuck, it's infuriating. And what sucks is the guy on the right, he wasn't great, but at least he liked Star Trek, and you can tell he watched it. And he got on the wrong side of those two guys on the left, and he is just, he's dead. His career's dead. That's good news to Mr. Kurtzman, who wants to get much weirder with the franchise, which will celebrate its 55th birthday this year. To absolutely no celebration, by the way. He points to the pitch from Graham Wagner, Portlandia, Silicon Valley, centered on the character Worf, which he calls incredibly funny, poignant, and touching. Oh, because that's what I want to see. I want to see a cutesy-wootsy Worf story. If it were up to me only, I would be pushing the boundaries much further than I think most people would want, he said. I think we might get there. Marvel has actually proven that you can, but you have to build a certain foundation. In order to get there, we're still building our foundation. He's talking about Star Trek. We're still building our foundation. I need to yell at these guys. You fucking retards. You idiots. Look at this big fat-headed, round-headed moron. And douchey McDouche face. Okay. And look at your fucking stock again. Just want to fucking... All right. Star Trek is not Marvel. Star Trek is within a genre called science fiction. Marvel is multiple genres. It's a medium with multiple genres. So the great thing about Marvel that Disney unfortunately can't do because it doesn't want to do the rated R thing, you can do horror, you can do noir, you can do action adventure, you can do science fiction, you can do drama, you can do whatever with the superheroes. Disney has managed to make it homogenous as hell. You could take, I don't know, a character like the deadly hands of Shang-Chi and do an homage to Bruce Lee kung fu films. That's what he is. He's Bruce Lee. Instead, we have generic guy in stupid shirt, and in their trailer, in the first trailer, the hook that was supposed to get us all was Shang-Chi beating the shit out of a guy in a San Francisco bus. And the only thing we remember from the trailer is a cameo from a Hulk villain in a Shang-Chi movie that's relying on an Iron Man villain. I digress. Star Trek isn't Marvel. And it's proven that. So I would say at this point, show us the numbers. Show us the numbers. If it's so successful, show us the numbers. We've seen some numbers. They weren't very good. But you know what you can do? Release some Star Trek in the movie theater. Go ahead. See what happens. Release Star Trek 4. You know what? Put Chris Hemsworth in it. Put everybody in it. That thing will flop. So, I'm not the only one who's come out and said this. I'm not saying I invented the idea, but this was a media push by Paramount to get investors excited, and it clearly it didn't work. It didn't work. So here's the deal. The Dreckies win. You won. You won. You got Alex Kurtzman for 5 more years. We tried to warn you, Viacom CBS, with the last God, it's been 4 years, almost 4 years on this channel when I reviewed the very first episode of Star Trek Discovery the night it premiered. We tried to warn you. You didn't listen. And unfortunately, we're right where I thought we'd be. And I said this at the end of my Doctor Who video. And I was saying this 3 years ago. I said, they're not going to listen. We're going to be sitting amongst the ashes of our favorite franchises, picking up the pieces as the bankers and the posers go on to go destroy something else. And here we are. But somehow, the little microscopic pulverized pieces of our franchise, they can, I don't know, Alex Kurtzman's going to put it in the franchise, fucking CERN collider and pulverize it some more. And it's going to create that metaphorical singularity of suck. But it might not be metaphorical. Let's get to you guys. Fucking A. So yeah, Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker leave. A couple days later, Alex Kurtzman gets a new contract. And I didn't even get to what I would argue the biggest news of the day, because nobody gave a fuck about Alex Kurtzman, only us Star Trek fans. It looks like it's She-Man confirmed. It looks like it. Based on what Kevin Smith said, because I watched that entire, what I did a video on, he mentioned that this story is going somewhere. And he also mentioned, it's probably not going to make everybody happy. That's strange. That is not working. Okay, this will have to work. What a week. What a week. I haven't even been able to get to everything this week. So as I move over to your questions, again, I went to see the Jungle Book yesterday because Mrs. Nerdrotic wanted to see The Rock. I'm fine. And it was terrible. It was Pirates of the Caribbean light. Somehow The Rock is a Spanish conquistador. The Rock. But the movie was just like dumb. It was a dumb Disney movie. 2 years ago, a dumb Disney movie like this would have done pretty well at the box office. I'm not going to say it's $1 billion movie, but it would have done pretty well. It was Sunday. I'm in Southern California. It was the middle of the day. I was in an IMAX theater. And again, it was fucking empty. It was empty. And not only was the IMAX theater empty, the entire theater was empty. There was 7 people in there. It cost the movie theater a lot of money to be open that day. This is what we bailed out. This is what you and I bailed out. And I said it was a bad bet. The only movie theaters that are succeeding right now are the ones in Burbank and maybe in some metropolitan centers where people still give a shit, but people aren't going to the movies. Now, is it the Delta variant or the Epsilon variant? Yeah, I'm sure that actually has something to do with it. You peddle fear porn long enough, and it looks like the media has missed their fear porn so much they decided to ramp it up because they need some ad dollars. Hollywood's got a big fucking problem. The movie theaters are in big trouble, and they are not going to recover from this. And I give it a year. You're going to start seeing more and more close. And you can financially prop them up all you want. Eventually, people need to go see the fucking movies. And what they have been doing is lying to you and spinning, and they're believing their own spin again. I don't care about the theater in Burbank that's right next to Disney Studios. No, you need the theater in Escondido, California, the Regal Cinema. That was, they actually were starting to construct that when I left here 20 years ago. The biggest theater in this general area. In San Diego, North County has a couple million people in it, and it was empty. It was fucking empty. Went over to Lowe's afterwards, crowded as hell. So people were out. People were willing to go out, but they're not willing to go see a movie. I think this has everything to do with Hollywood sucking and them pissing off a large portion of the audience. And I'll just say Escondido represents most of America, not our urban centers. Escondido is a pretty, down the middle, I would say even maybe right-leaning town. And nobody went to the movie. I walked out of there. I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, they're fucked. They are fucked. An empty IMAX theater. So you're not going to be able to keep those play. I mean, like, again, it must cost that movie theater a fortune to be open. And I felt bad. There's 3 kids working behind the counter, and they didn't have enough to do. And you know what? To the kids who actually went to work, thank you. Because so many of them aren't right now. So many adults aren't working right now. They're sitting on their asses collecting a check instead of going out there and working. And I know some people can't go and work. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the able-bodied who could go and work right now. There are help wanted signs effing everywhere. So we have massive unemployment, and I'm seeing help wanted signs everywhere. So I saw the kids. So what I'm doing to make the world a better place, I can only do what I have the power. Being extra nice to the retail employees and the kids working at the theater. Give them a smile. Tell them they're doing a good job. Because they're outnumbered by their friends who aren't going to work. Claudia Rogojan says, I heard Jungle Cruise copies The Mummy. Is it true? It copies The Mummy and Pirates. It's stupid. It's for one, the Jungle Cruise. When I went to Disneyland, I've been to Disneyland many, many times. My dad used to take us to Disneyland twice a year. My dad's favorite ride was the Jungle Cruise. So that was, and my dad had a loop that he did at Disneyland in California. So what you do is you start at Frontierland, right? And Jungle Cruise, well, you get the Tiki Room, and then you got Jungle Cruise, right? So my dad would make a beeline to the Jungle Cruise, and that's the first ride we hit every day. And then we did our big loop around Disneyland, and we looped it twice, sometimes 3 times. So I love that ride. The Jungle Cruise takes place in the jungles of Africa. Well, this one takes place in the jungles of the Amazon. In the Amazon, with a bunch of Italian people in the Amazon in the early 1900s, late 1800s. It's Indiana Jones-ish. Emily Blunt she's a perfectly charming actress. I don't hate The Rock. I don't love The Rock. I don't think he's a very good actor. And wouldn't The Rock be perfect for like dumb action movies? I would like to see him in that and not in stuff like this. But, it was a perfectly fine, inoffensive family movie if you wanted to take your kids and just get out of the house. There was nobody there. There was nobody there. Was it? It certainly tries to push a lot of intersectional feminism. They call Emily Blunt's character Pants because she wears pants. Her brother is well, I don't want. Do I want to spoil the movie for you? There's like it's completely forgettable movie. I know some people liked it. I would say it's pretty inoffensive. It's fine. It's just, it's made by the company that does business with concentration camps. And that's always on my mind when I'm seeing them. So, it bugs me a little bit. I'm like, oh, look at this fun family Disney movie. They do business with concentration camps. It's a wholesome, and it's putting in some representation. And it's they do business with concentration camps. but their diversity and inclusion is that they do business with concentration camps. Grant Kelbrick for 140 Zardazes. Hey, Gary, such a sad day. My beloved Star Trek I've loved since childhood is dead to me until these hacks are gone. If you continue reviewing it, I will listen to your reviews rather than, but I am done watching hashtag RIP Star Trek. Why, thank you. Will I continue reviewing it? We'll see. I'm not going to make it's just that I end up regretting it every time. So I'm going to I take each day as it comes and we'll see, because if I say I'm going to stop, there's going to be people who tell me to stop reviewing it, and there's going to be people who want me to review it. And I got to listen to my gut. So what my gut tells me, I will follow. I will listen to you guys, certainly. And there's certainly an argument to be made. Are we bringing attention to it? There's no way we're bringing attention to Star Trek. There's nothing we can do to help or hurt Star Trek that they haven't done to themselves. So if I think it's a great opportunity to laugh, because Star Trek is dumb. They have taken the most optimistic, forward-thinking show, one of the smartest shows on television, that raised in a generation of kids and made scientists and astronauts. That show literally did that. There are people who work at NASA who said, I work here because I watched Star Trek. That ain't happening with this show. They have now made it divisive and dumb. So I think it's a great opportunity to make fun of Hollywood. Kurtzman's checks are going to cash just the same, but let's show the world how dumb Viacom CBS is. I'm going to make sure to announce the name of every board member before every review, because they're the ones to blame. And they don't get enough of the blame. Oh, and I am reinvigorated for I'm not going to get the Picard review out before Vegas, but it'll be out before season 2 comes out. I promise you. As far as don't buy it, vote with your wallet. Absolutely don't buy it. If there are things that they make that you want, buy it secondhand. Go ahead and buy it secondhand. But all the money that goes to them, it's one big pot. They're not looking at individual sales. I heard somebody talking about, well, if we buy more old Star Trek stuff as opposed to the new stuff, that will show them that we want old Star Trek. They know you want old Star Trek. They don't want old Star Trek, and they have said that time and time again. They find it boring and sterile, and they're embarrassed by it, just like the BBC. In so many words, my guy told me from Doctor Who that they have no intention of ever going back to making Doctor Who like it was even with the RTD era, because they're embarrassed by it. They don't think it's forward thinking. They think the audience is stupid. They think the audience hasn't caught up to them yet. And that's the only reason they're thinking about pulling the plug, because the BBC runs completely differently than something like CBS. So no, you can't, if you buy a Captain Kirk action figure, that helps CBS. That just goes into one big pot. Sure, there's somebody looking at the individual numbers, but that person, do you think that person ever fucking gets to Bob Backish? No. Or Cheeks? No. In the words of the great William Shatner, double dumbass on CBS execs. Yep. Fuck them. Don't subscribe to Paramount Plus. For one, it's a shitty streaming service. The best way to go right now is a la carte. That's kind of what I do. I don't like corporations. I love capitalism, but I don't love corporations. But, Amazon Prime is fine until they fuck up Lord of the Rings, and then it'll be like a holy war. It'll be like the fucking Crusades. Oh, yeah. But until then, I do the a la carte thing there, and it's fine. I don't need to. There's nothing I'm missing on Paramount Plus. Let's see here. We got $100 super chat from the Grizzly. Says, hey, Gary, I love your work, and I think you're right. Oh, I love hearing that. Here, let me get the screen over here so I can read it properly. But I also think that it has a heavy political bent to it. I think that Hollywood is being and has been pressured by the White House on hating Republicans. Stick Sexenhammer 666, a really good channel, talked about this. The Grizzly, I agree. No, I don't. As far as the White House is concerned, Stick. By the way, I like Stick Sexenhammer, and yeah, I think it's. I absolutely think there has been a political bent to this. They've made no secret, the Grizzly, as far as Star Trek is concerned. Alex Kurtzman said it was going to be a platform specifically for BLM. I got the audio and a video. So absolutely. And do I think they work with the White House? Yes, they do. Let me bring back up their executives. One moment here. Where was I? I might as well just keep this page up. And let me show you one of the executives that I noticed. Oh, come on, dummy. There we go. Leadership. There we go. Article. Thank you for the $100, the Grizzly. Thank you. And the kind words. All right, here we go. As far as I do believe I saw a government relations here. So, Vimus streaming. Oh, okay. Hollywood is so detached. They have a chief people officer. Nancy Phillips, executive vice president, chief people officer. I believe it was the other diverse. There she is. Dee Dee Lee, executive vice president, global public policy and government relations. Now, people will say, no, they have to deal with the FCC. And yeah, you're probably right. But don't you think there's other government relations as well? It has been pointed out by many in the past that there are a lot of people from the Clinton and Obama administrations that have jobs in Hollywood. A lot. A fucking lot. Sana Amanat, who essentially runs Marvel Comics right now, her family was heavily connected with the Obama administration. We have people who were connected to the Clinton administration who work at Warner Brothers, specifically for DC Comics in upper management, or at least used to until recently. Yes, there is a concerted effort to make these platforms educational. And I'm sure there's kickbacks. And what that is called, ladies and gentlemen, is propaganda. And when we see big tech, mainstream media, all of our industries that are supposed to be in competition in lockstep, working together with the government, that should be something that scares the hell out of people. That is a very dangerous thing. But now we have, and the most perplexing thing to me, right, as a person who is an independent, is the foundation of what used to make a liberal was supposedly empathy and individualism. They weren't the ones that rooted for the corporations. That used to be what they said were the Republicans. Well, that is not the case anymore. That is clearly not the case. And Comics Division brought it up, and I'll go in depth maybe in my next video about ESG. And that's the social credit system that's coming for you and me. Are you down with ESG? I'm not. Thank you, Grizzly, for the $100. There we go. And we got, how do I pronounce this name? Fiat Justicia. Thank you for the $50. Sorry for butchering your last name there. Well, Gary, when it comes to the idiocy in Hollywood, Blade said it best. Some motherfuckers are always going to try to ice skate uphill. Fucking A. Absolutely correct. No, I think, I mean, this is an embarrassing move. We all know how this is going to end. Right? I mean, there were people who tried to call out, let's go back to the Great Depression of the 30s. There was a lot of people who said, whoa, 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 whoa. These stocks are artificially inflated. This is not sustainable. If we don't stop now, we are headed for a calamity. They weren't listened to because people were making too much money. And then the calamity happened. The recession of 2008. Fucking Warren Buffett was warning people. Like, anybody could see it. Anybody who had half a fucking brain could see what was coming in 2008. I saw it coming. I'm like, wow. My mom just sold her house in Temecula for like $500,000. It's Temecula. That is not, and this was, 2008. It's back up to $500,000 now. And I feel the same. No offense to anybody who lives in Temecula. It's okay. $500,000 for these little McMansions and stuff. It's unsustainable. Plus they were giving, loans out to anybody. Anybody. Credit didn't matter. Was it predatory? Yeah, but then there's also that personal responsibility thing that I just can't seem to ignore. I'm sorry. And yeah, there was a lot of people warning like this shit's going to go down, and it went down. So there's always room for the heretic, and we have been doing that for the last 4 years to Hollywood. The calamity will come. I'm going to come, and it's going to come probably in the next 2 or 3 years, and there's going to be a major adjustment in Hollywood. Now, some studios are already getting ready for it, right? Because that influx of blockbuster money is dried up, and I don't think it's coming back. They have been lying to you. They have been telling you that everything's rosy. Well, this is a record during COVID. Yeah, but the movie that cost $200 million to make isn't going to make its money back. And we're not talking about any movie in particular. We're talking about Black Widow, a Marvel movie, lost money, is losing money because it sat in itself. Sure, the coof absolutely had everything to do with it, but it's now part of our lives for the rest of our lives. As far as it looks, in my opinion, I am not a doctor, but it doesn't look like this thing is getting cured. Okay. And after scaring the shit out of the country, a lot of people in the country for the last year, there's some people who are never going to leave their fucking houses again. And there's some people who are just out of the habit of going to see a movie. Then there's some people who are just fucking fed up and pissed off at Hollywood, and fuck them. Let them burn. That's a lot of people. That's not a small amount of people. Now, I want Hollywood to do well. I'm tired of them dividing the country. Fuck them if they're going to keep doing that. But I would love to see them go back to just making fucking movies and entertaining us and not educating us. Do I think that's possible? I don't know. It's kind of up to us. I think we need a serious dose of common sense in this country, and it is in short fucking supply. Thankfully, we have each other right now. And that's been the beauty of this. I mean, I was talking to Az yesterday, I was talking to both Az and Mahler about this. The Access Media, I mean, they're still putting out like ridiculous articles like how Black Widow actually succeeded. Blah, blah, blah. It's like they know they're being, or maybe they don't know they're being retarded. I don't know. But I got to thank them because they send people to us every single fucking day with their stupid, inane, a fucking simpleton shit. Now, and hateful. And most people recognize this. A vocal bunch on Twitter runs the show to a certain extent, but I think I showed you earlier who really runs the show. It's people who don't pay attention, people with a lot of power who can't be bothered at their lunch meeting, so just give Kurtzman the contract. Mikey Gussler for $50 says, breaking news. Lord of the Rings released its first official image, and the release date is September 2nd, 2022. Thank you, Mikey. And yes. And then there's no news after that. Not a sizzle reel, nothing. We haven't, and by the way, that is the first image we have seen since 2017 when they announced it. That's the first image. There we go. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to get back to my list here. Ryan Delushi for $5. In the words, I already read that one. So let's go to donations. We got $10 from Big Worm. Says, hail Gary, hail chat. Took my sons to see Black Widow Friday. Nobody there. $40 for popcorn, candy, drinks. My God. They said it was okay. Haven't watched it, and they haven't watched it again. Yeah, that's your demographic, and they aren't going to think about this movie. My son didn't even want to go. The only reason my son went was like, I'll go out with you, Dad. It was like a sympathy thing. It was kind of sad, really. He's like, I'll keep you company, Dad. J.H. Schwalbach for $25 on the donation side. Then, of course, he says, don't need to read it on the air. Well, thank you for the donation. Thank you. Mark Smith for $10. Brother Gary, Kevin Smith reminded me how much I enjoyed Masters of the Universe when I was five years old in 1983. So I went to eBay and bought a DVD to enjoy some original episodes instead of watching this latest iteration. Keep up the great work. Cheers. Yeah, there was a guy who came on his live stream and said, hey, if you don't like this show, go watch the older shows. And you know what? Absolutely. I think that's a good segue to talk about the other big fucking news today. I don't know if Bounding has written it up yet. I don't think so. I know there was a tweet. We'll just talk about it then. There was an interview with the young lady who voices... Here, I'll just pull up her IMDb. I can't remember her name. She used to be on the Star Wars show, right? Something like that. Tiffany Smith as Andra, okay? So Tiffany Smith was conducting an interview, and in that interview, she was talking about her audition. And during her audition, she had to say, I have the power. So she talked about pulling a lightsaber off her wall because I have too. Because, oh my God, girls can have lightsabers too. And shit, Tiffany, I've lost more lightsabers than you own. Okay. And she said, I have the power. It was predicted. I think Clownfish predicted it. Other people predicted it as well. That the possibility of the girlfriend of Teela becoming the He-Man, The one who fucking holds the sword, the one who holds the dick, basically. It's about passing your dick down. It's just like it's the symbolism they did in Watchmen. At the end of Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan gives his powers to a very diverse female in the form of an egg, handing over an egg, his balls. In He-Man, it's going to be handing over the dick. And the dick is apparently going to go to Andra, or whatever her name is. And are you surprised? Again, Kevin Smith alludes to this in his live stream. It's all going to make sense in the end now. Some people are probably going to still be pissed off. If they don't do that, I'll be surprised. So she plays, here, I'll pull up I'll show you what Andra looks like. If they got a picture of her. Yeah, there we go. Ugh. I hate to go to this website. So there she is right there. So yeah, don't be surprised at all if they bring, I guess, Adam back, and then he's like, and then Tila becomes the sorceress, I guess. And I know nothing about Master of the Universe, and nor do I want to know anything about Kevin Smith. But if they don't give it to Andra, I'll be surprised. That's where I won't be. If hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it does, but that's the rumor going around now. Her audition, they could have just used that line of dialogue for everyone with the audition. So let's keep that in mind. It doesn't absolutely confirm it, but it's looking, I'd say 90%. 90% that the bait and switch is not over. Kevin Smith lied to his core audience, and that's the biggest takeaway of all of this. I mean, I'm sorry, Masters of the Universe fans. You are now going through what Doctor Who and Star Trek fans are going through, but at least you could just pretend Kevin Smith's series doesn't exist. Yes, Star Trek fans can pretend that now a decade's worth of shitty Star Trek doesn't exist, and Star Wars fans could pretend Disney never bought it, but the more they make, the harder that gets. Doctor Who fans can't do any of that. Can't do any of that because they went into the past and they fucked with it. But the biggest takeaway is Kevin Smith lying and lying and lying and continuing to lie when he was supposedly the man of the people, the nerd of the people. Well, turns out, just like Howard Stern, big fraud, big sellout. It's disappointing, but not surprising. Not Ginger for $3. Thanks for the birthday stream. Oh, happy birthday. And I have an FNT mug and coffee waiting for me when I get home. See you in Vegas, nerds. See you in Vegas. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It'll be great to see you, Ginger. Vegas is, we're in the single digits now. 9 days away. We've got a lot of work to do. But there will be a Friday Night Tights. There will be the 2 meetups. Nothing's going to stop them. Don't really care what anybody says outside of that. John Parson, thank you for the $25. He says to help our cause. Thank you. And that's on the donation side. Again, Stephen Kraft for $10. Hi, Gary. Just commented on Critical Drinker's video that maybe it is time for Star Trek to go away. The go away of Gunsmoke. Thanks for many happy memories. Gene Roddenberry makes me have less interest in hitting the Star Trek con in Vegas. Or he says, thanks for the happy memories, Gene Roddenberry. Then he goes, makes me even less interested in hitting the Star Trek con in Vegas. See you there. Yeah, I'm going to go one day. And it's basically to walk around with the I Stand With Vic shirt, which I got in the mail. Nikki D for $5. Feige, The word escapism in an MCU trailer earlier this year. Feige invoked the word escapism in an MCU trailer earlier this year. However, most of the recent MCU properties have been peppered with modern-day identity politics. Is he aware of these criticisms, or is he playing both sides? No, he's aware of the criticisms, and he doesn't care at this point. I just don't think he cares. I think the money is rolling in, and what if the Marvel Cinematic Universe has multiple massive failures, that will send shockwaves through Hollywood. But like right now, they have problems. They have giant problems, and Hollywood is really good at bullshitting. So they're going to spin everything in a positive direction. Like, it's fine. We have the streaming services. We don't need blockbuster films. Oh, you don't, huh? Okay. Those blockbuster films were financed. That is borrowed money that they lost interest on, and now they're not going to profit from. But I don't want to see them crying and have their fucking hand out to us when they're giving Alex Kurtzman $150 million. Evil Knievel for $5. Target doesn't allow PS5, Xbox X One to be sold in store, only online. That's lame. Lane, I was just in a Target. As a matter of fact, that video I shot on Twitter of Marvel's Katie. I know all of you have been waiting for Marvel's Katie to show up in the MCU, and fucking it's time. I remember sitting with all my friends when I was 10 years old, seeing Marvel's Katie fight Annihilus and Galactus, and she took them out with one punch, and then she had lunch with the Silver Surfer. Lane Bristow for 10 Canadian pesos. If She-Man decides to have a baby, then He-Man / Prince Adam might actually have a chance to come back because men can get pregnant too. # Chetmate. You got me, Lane. You got me. Roger H, thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. George Moilo for $50. Oh, wait, we got to go to number one. Sorry. Let's rewind. George Moilo for $100. George, what's up, man? Number one, the biggest problem we're facing is not only from the normies who these corporate pederasts. You're using big words that I can't use, George. Is it like pedestrians? Pederasts cater to, we'll just say, sorry if I mispronounced that. Cater to, but I'm seeing supposed fans and nerds who would rather serve their monetary desires to buy a toy or watch their streams than fight by withholding support. Yes, that is part of what we are fighting. And what we need to do is win their hearts and minds over. And that's a difficult thing to do, but it's possible, George. And I feel the passion, and I agree with you. That's an uphill battle. That is ice skating uphill. George Moilo for $100 more. Number two, he says, I've realized lately that it's neither selfish nor fear that has people giving money to companies to fund their hate campaigns against them. It's a lack of imagination. They can't imagine what restrictive terror, censorship, and horror they will bring on. Oh, that is so fucking spot on, George. That is so spot on. And number three for $50. Kathleen Kennedy, DeConnick, Simone, Kurtzman, Feige, Smith, nothing but a lot of skin and bones surrounding a cunt. If we want it to change, we have to start putting them in the corner and giving them their silent treatment. All hail Nerdrotic. Hail George Moilo. The part where you said where people can't imagine the horror, like how bad things can get. We're talking about just pop culture right now, but we need to like apply that to our real life. People can't imagine totalitarianism, but we're like steaming in that direction. People couldn't imagine that we were going to get locked down for a year, but we did. And it's still people dealing with that. It's still people coming around to the reality like, oh shit. Because I think the vast majority of them think, well, it'll just stop. Things will go back to normal. The government will give up power, although they've never shown any hint of ever doing that in the past. And we're waiting, as Carrie Smith. Let me see if I can find the tweet. The great Carrie Smith and her wisdom. She pointed out a great example of projection. Projection. And here it is. Some asshole. Where is it? It's not down now. I can't find it. So what somebody did was, I'm not really big as far as getting the poke and everything. Do what you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do, what not to do. I'm not a doctor. It's not my business. But I'm really not into this shaming people. And I'm really not happy with how the government has been really pushing people to shame others. Here it is. Here it is. And I don't think that's winning people over to your argument. Say if you're on the argument side, if you're like for the poke, I think if you really wanted to truly win people over, you would do it with empathy. But instead, they're using shame. They're attacking people. And these are the same people who said, my body, my choice. My body, my choice. But all of a sudden now it's not your body and your choice. Well, here is a tweet that I think is a great example of how the other side flips the argument around. So here's the tweet from a Ted Lieu. You have no right to spread your respiratory droplets on me, on others, in public spaces, in a business. So you're saying I have no right to breathe or speak in a business. Actually, asshole, I do. I fucking do. The majority of reasonable Americans are going to fight the tyranny of the minority who insist that they leave their saliva anywhere, and we will win. So Carrie Smith responds that this is an elected official engaging in a form of Darvo, dressing up his tyranny and authoritarianism and desire to deny us all our rights as the exact opposite. Projection and perversion. Up is down, down is up. This is a lie, and it is evil. She's fucking spot on. This woman is great. She's awesome. So, hail Carrie Smith. And that's a great example of how they flip this shit around. And again, I'm always for freedom and liberty. That's where I will always side. Freedom and liberty. And yeah, I think if you're going to be consistent with that argument, I'm not a big pot smoker, but I think you should be able to do whatever the hell you want with your body. It's your fucking choice. Now, don't expect me to take care of you if you make bad choices, but you're free to make those choices, and you're free to pay the consequences or not. Doesn't matter. It's your life, your choice. I will not bother you as long as you don't bother me. But when they're coming around and twisting their arguments, and now it's like that guy just said you don't have the right to breathe. Your right to breathe doesn't. Your freedom doesn't it's not something you have a right to over this guy's fear. And I doubt he's afraid. We all know they're full of shit. But that's what we're fighting every day. We talked about it on Friday Night Tights, the term information wars, which was coined by Hillary Clinton and used as a brand by Alex Jones. That's what we're in. Uffe K for 50 Danish krona says Tila will become the Scissors. Most likely. I mean, it'll happen off screen, but it'll be heavily insinuated. Mikey Gusler for $10. Is the pandemic over? Pearl Jam, Steven Spielberg, George Clooney, and others are attending Obama's 60th birthday. That will have several hundred guests and at his $12 million oceanfront home. How did Obama get $12 million? Oh, speaking tours. Yeah, speaking tours. Okay. Jonathan Goweller, for $50. Thank you. Says empathy without values will let you sympathize with the devil. Exactly. Well said. Well said. Dev Mag, 52, and thank you for the $50. Very generous. Dev Mag, 52 for $9.99. Where is the merchandising for this rubbish? Further, to quote one Avenger, what were they thinking? I don't know what they're thinking. They are planning to put out merchandise for Star Trek. I think Playmates has picked it up, and it's not going to sell. Again, I was in a Target yesterday, and all I saw was a big stack of Marvel's Katie from the Shang-Chi line, and then there was some Shang-Chi 2-packs. None of them sold. You can't keep taking a bath in this shit. Harry Lime for 20 Canadian pesos. The Star Trek fan would watch the show, buy all kinds of merch, books, DVDs, comics. The woke they are pandering to aren't going to buy any of that. They are losing out on a ton of money. Sit and spin, Kurtzman. They are. But editorially, they're spot on. They're spot on. No, they don't understand. And all of this has to do with 2020, folks. So things were moving in a very good direction at the cost of a franchise at the end of 2019. Dark Fate flopped. Charlie's Angels flopped. Birds of Prey was about to flop. Rise of Skywalker was a complete disaster, sending shockwaves through Hollywood, and The Mandalorian was pretty well received. So you saw that if we go back to basics and if we don't fill our stuff full of identity politics and divisive politics, that people will generally enjoy it and be okay. It's a real simple act. Well, then 2020 happened. There were no box office bombs. Hollywood started smelling their own farts, and they started smelling pretty fucking good. And you know what? There was a lack of successes, but more importantly, there was a lack of failures. And failures are what keep us honest. They are what keeps us honest. And now they're able to spin their failures. And now they're starting to believe their own bullshit. One company that failed miserably on a property that they thought that they were going to make a lot of money on was Ghostbusters. Now, this was Amy Pascal's idea. Amy Pascal's an idiot. She came up with the all-female Ghostbusters, hired Paul Feig. The rest is history. But then they decided to hire the son of Ivan Reitman and turn the franchise around. They spent time on it. And they took a brilliant approach to it. And again, I highly recommend after this live stream, go listen to Jason Reitman's commentary on the trailer, and you will get a feel for what this movie is going to be. They're using a lot of practical effects. They are not trying to undo anything from the original. They are trying to accent it while making a smaller film that is more in tone of the original Ghostbusters, which is, this is a horror comedy. Obviously, it's comedy first. The second movie was all comedy, and like, I love the real Ghostbusters, but it played a lot into that too. And when I saw that trailer, that was the first time I have been excited about anything from Hollywood in a long time. And I haven't had that feeling in a long time. I went and watched Ghostbusters again with Mrs. Nerdrotic, and it's still great. And I remember how much of I was excited about the movie when I saw it because it had Bill Murray in it back in the day. I was a huge, everybody loved Bill Murray in the 80s. Dude was the man. Now, turns out he's a giant asshole, and he's the reason we didn't get a proper sequel when Harold Ramis was alive. And it took the guy 20 years to talk to Harold Ramis, and unfortunately he waited too long, and Harold Ramis lost the ability to speak when Bill Murray decided to roll up like the hero and go talk to his friend after 20 years after an argument on the set of Groundhog Day. Yeah, Bill Murray's a fucking piece of shit. I like him as Venkman. Like him very little as a human being. But yeah, the love fest that this movie is going to be, and I love the story behind the story, that it's a father and son thing. I'm a sucker for that shit. I'm an absolute sucker for that shit. And if that movie succeeds, then you're going to see the House of Cards that is fucking woke CBS fall apart. For one, they're following the wrong model. Like I said earlier, the MCU is not the model to be following. People have tried and failed. As a matter of fact, Alex Kurtzman has failed twice at an MCU model. Spider-Man and the Dark Universe. And the people making the decisions at CBS, they just don't give a shit. They're elites. They don't know how stupid they look to us. And more importantly, they don't care. You know what? Most of them do not understand why we love Star Trek that much. They think that is just a ginormous waste of time. It's like, why would it's for the plebs. It's something for the plebs. But I don't understand why they enjoy the Star Trek. Let's get to the beginning here. The Big Red Bear for 10 Canadian pesos. Says Star Trek is no longer, thankfully, drowning in the bathtub. The water has stilled. It has drowned in the bathtub and is enjoying its submerging state, dead and gone. Folks, it's genuinely sad. It really is. You don't see very many people celebrating this, right? This decision. It's not logical. It goes complete, but what it really is in line with everything we've seen from Hollywood over the last few years. But this is truly the end. Like, the legacy of Star Trek is broken now. You have people in charge who not only don't understand it, they don't want to understand it. They don't want to understand the fans. Alex Kurtzman wants to get weirder with it. Okay, go ahead. At this point, I say, go ahead, rock on. You go, girl. Nikki D for $5. The modern day blockbuster now costs $200 million to make. If movies continue to have a large second weekend box office drops, will budgets start to drop? Yes, budgets are going to start to drop in the next couple of years no matter what. And contraction is not something giant industries that rely on stockholders are big on, even when they should. So if the director of Afterlife is sending a love letter to Ghostbuster fans, is Kevin Smith sending a dick pic to He-Man fans? Ask Barry Morton for $20. Yes, and it's not even like a good dick pic. Not that there's a good or a bad one, but you know what I'm saying. Thank you for the $20. George B. Pryor, thank you for the $5 Australian. I appreciate it. Mexican Iron Man, what's up for $50? Proudly wearing my Nerdrotic gear today. Oh, fuck yeah. While working, thank you ever so much for the gear and action figures and for being you. Well, thanks, man. Thank you for being you. The Kurtzman news shall soon inspire the crisis in infinite Tijuanas. Hail, Brother Gary. Hail to you, Mexican Iron Man. Olale. I say. Mephisto Gaming for 15 Israeli dollars. Let's stay in Israeli pesos. Hi, Gary, longtime lurker on the channel. Tweeted at you this morning something special. Hope it makes you smile. If it's hard, you can call me Mephisto. I think if it's Mephisto, I can call you Mephisto. I think I got it right. I'll check it out in a second. Thank you. Von Max for $250. Did you read G.I. Joe and did you plan to watch Snake Eyes? No plan to watch Snake Eyes whatsoever. I have to choose my battles. That is one that Jeremy can fight. That's his wheelhouse. I did read the G.I. Joe comic and I liked it. And I watched the cartoon and I liked it. I love the action figures, but I was way more into when G.I. Joe was out. It was like teenage years. So I was kind of partying at that point, but I was still getting, I was still my superheroes. I was just getting superhero stuff. Darius Munchausen, thank you for the $1.49. I appreciate it. I moved on to the, that was just a donation. He didn't say anything, but thank you. I moved on to the Orville as soon as it dropped. So I'm good. Says Folkenstahl for 5. Is that Chilean or Czechoslovakian pesos? I'm not sure, Folkenstahl. But yes, the Orville is now Star Trek officially. We're going to get season 3. Definitely watch the Orville. The first 2 seasons are great. You can see them on Hulu. Unfortunately, it's owned by Disney. But if you do already have Hulu and you haven't seen the Orville, I cannot recommend it enough. Silver Axe 13, thank you for the 99-cent donation. I appreciate it. Robert Cherry, thank you for the $9.99 donation. I appreciate it. 200 Watt Studio for $2. Good afternoon, Gary. Good to see you. Good to see you, too. Good to see you. Darth Hestur for $2. Thank you for the donation. And Grand Wazoo 42, thank you for the 10 pounds, says, Hail, Gary. So it is tax write-offs and money laundry. Would you give Kurtzman and his master Jar Jar money for that train wreck? Nobody with sense and a brain. Well, we're talking about Hollywood. We are talking about Hollywood. And the message far outweighs quality of content and storytelling. Unpopular movie opinions for $2. To paraphrase Milton Friedman, people think capitalism is just a profit system, but it is really a profit and loss system. And the losses are just as important as the profits. Let's keep hitting Hollywood in their wallets. Absolutely agree. The way I see capitalism is in its truest form, which is mom and pop shop. It's also, that's the liberty part. I like, God, there was a time in this country where you could just open up a shop and sell shit. You didn't need to ask permission, get a license, none of it. Human Kirk for £2. What do we need to do to wind you up even more? Well, the reason I'm not screaming and yelling about this Star Trek thing is that's what they want. That's what they want. What winds me up is when people like outright disrespect fans. Like what wound me up was Snowflake and Safe Space. What wound me up was Kurtzman saying Star Trek is a platform. There's certain things that'll wind me up. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of crazy shit in my life, and I'm just not surprised by this at all. Like in the least fucking bit. I saw it. I went, fuck. And yeah, I was surprised for like a moment. But the New York Times article like laid it out like completely, and it makes sense. He can create content for their platform so he can sell the widgets. We don't give a fuck what's boxed inside the widgets, and apparently a lot of people like them. They don't understand that they're leaving millions on the table. They're taking a great franchise that will have no equal, and they're flushing it down the toilet. I'm going to go, I said this earlier in the stream, some of you might not heard it. I'm about to go to the Star Trek convention, and when I go there, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a Star Trek convention and an AARP convention. It'll be just a bunch of old fogies like me running around. Human Kirk for £5. Nerdrotic. Doctor Who is the #1 most destroyed franchise. CBS says, hold my beer. Hey, they have time now. They have time. Kirk is going to be gay. Human Kirk. Kirk is going to be gay or bisexual. Take it to the bank. It's going to happen within 2 years. Human Kirk for $5 is defying a rotting corpse. Star Trek, RIP 2005. Not a crime in California anymore. Well, honestly, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Ryan DeLucci for $10. Here is some money and some change to buy some of that Cat 8 Ethernet cable. Hey, I will. I don't know if I don't know if I had any blips today. Let me know. Did I have any blips today? Fucking A, man. With the only good news out of all of this is Ghostbusters could potentially embarrass all of these fucking idiots. And I don't care what company is doing it at this point. If somebody comes out and embarrasses these motherfuckers by doing the one thing we have asked for the last 4 years, that's our victory. And we could just go, fuck you, motherfucker. And then, hey, thanks for fucking off our franchise, the shit we have loved for years, but fuck you. So Ghostbusters comes out. Let's say it's just a nice little family film that's got some ghosts in it, and it's a fucking 7.5 or 8 out of 10. That is a victory. And it's not filled with identity politics or intersectional feminism. It all depends on the kid actors. If they're going to rely so much on it being that, especially that little girl, Egon, she's the most important thing in that fucking movie. But it looks like they're building up to getting the original Ghostbusters in, fucking seeing Janine in the trailer. What Jason Reitman said in that commentary was everything you needed to say. And when he talked about, this is the most important thing I've ever done and will ever do in my life. Because this is something my father built and it's been handed to me. Doesn't that story it gets you right here? If I was Ivan Reitman, I would just be like the proudest fucking dad in the world, right? Just sitting there watching my son take on this project and do it with respect and reverence. I'll be my job here is done. I have raised a good boy, That's it. That's it. Again, this movie does not need to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It just needs to be good. It just needs to be a good Ghostbuster. What did you see all over Twitter? Please be good. Please fucking be good. Man, what a bunch of Nazis. Look at all those Nazis, especially the ones that, aren't white. The Nazis who want Ghostbusters to be good. The movie that has a diverse cast, and little marshmallow men in it. Look at those horrible, horrible people. Obviously Trump supporters. And by the way, I don't think you're the devil if you're a Trump supporter. I don't think you're bad at all. But you know what? In Hollywood, if you even support somebody who says they're a Trump supporter, if you talk to somebody who says they're a Trump supporter, you are considered basically a Nazi at this point. This is the narrative we're trying to break, because you don't come back from shit like this. This is what George was talking about. These people lack imagination. They don't know how bad they are making the world because they are not participating in it. And they're not seeing what's happening to our fucking world right now. And for those of us who have kids or who are going to have kids or who just want to live life or who are young, you should be very concerned that Hollywood has played their part to perfection in dividing this country and making it in some areas very dangerous where it wasn't before. There has always been bad pockets here and there. For those of you who don't live here, and might be under the impression that you're in danger of being robbed or shot anywhere. No, the vast majority of this country is pretty fucking safe. You can walk around in the middle of the night and nothing's going to happen to you. Even in the big cities, there was pockets of places that I wouldn't recommend you walk, but not many. That's changed now. That's changed now. January 6th. Fuck. Summer of 2020. Summer of 2020. That's the one you should remember. Because it wasn't just the lockdowns, folks. It was the rioting that led to a lot of businesses shutting down forever. And led to the problem with the movie theaters. And now they are suffering. Unfortunately, George Moilo has witnessed horror beyond belief in his life. So he can imagine it. I can't say something as bad as what George went through, but I went through some horrific shit in my life, so I can imagine it. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who can too. But there's a lot of folks out there who have been very comfortable their entire lives. And Joe Rogan was talking about this. They have not experienced any real adversity in their lives. So they can't conceive how fucking bad things are. And they think, well, it'll just get fixed. Like when my power goes out, it gets fixed. When the water gets shut off for some weird reason, it gets fixed. When my internet goes out, it gets fixed. This isn't a problem that's just going to get fixed. We're going to have to fix it. And I don't know how, because I'm only allowed to talk about certain shit on this platform. Oh, anywhere, as a matter of fact. If I talk about it on a podcast somewhere else and YouTube hears me saying something they don't like, they can fucking pull my channel. Now, I'm pretty safe, right? But think about the stick sex hammers out there. Think about the salty crackers out there that get silenced. Josiah Rises. Our boy Josiah. That's a fucking crime what they did to him. If you're not aware, Josiah Rises, a buddy of mine, part of the Geeks and Gamers crew, his channel blew up prior to the election because he was talking about shit people weren't going to talk about. Now, we're here to talk about stuff. But this is what happened when Alex Jones was removed. There wasn't a big enough outcry. And to a lot of people's credit, they came out and said, we should have said something when it happened, and we didn't. And yeah. So now it's happening systematically. I can't even keep up. But Josiah even complied with YouTube, did what he needed to do, and they still wouldn't monetize him. and they care about creators' health. And Josiah's just a kid. They could have worked with him. They could have talked with him, but no. And that horrific thing that I can imagine is starting to turn into a reality. So we can win. We can absolutely win. Black pills will not help anything. But it's going to take a long time. It's going to take years. Be prepared for it to take years. We need you. And like I said before, we need more people on this platform. We need to invade it, infiltrate it, just like they did to our stuff. And that's how we win. So the CEO with a porn star named helped Kurtzman further decorate the corpse. Desecrate, not decorate. Or maybe he decorated it by desecrating it. The corpse of Star Trek, standard operating procedure. Douglas Nelson for $5. That is my summation of what happened. Not fucking surprised. I had a video on just the Star Trek subject. It's turning into something else. Kind of like a bigger picture thing. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I've kind of said my piece on this live stream about the Kurtzman thing. The Drekkies won. We are guaranteed more shit that calls itself Star Trek, and it's not. And you will see the difference between the fan and the consumer. But this move that they made today yesterday, they sealed their fate. And even the people who don't like it, who are going to review it, that's going to fade away. Things are just going to fade away. By 2026, sure, Kurtzman's going to get paid. He might even still have the job. Nobody will be talking about Star Trek. I got an example for you out there. Titans. Yeah, remember that show that was on the DC streaming service? I actually liked the DC streaming service. The quality of the video wasn't great, but I loved the combination of comic books and shows you could watch. I thought it was worth the money, and my kid used it quite a bit. Titans, I gave the show a chance. It was a CW Titan show, right? First season was okay. The acting by some of the kids was horrible. The kid playing Robin was great. The kid playing Nightwing and Robin looked like fucking... He looked like Dick. And reviewing the show, it was a lot of opportunities for Dick jokes. So, Dick just doesn't get it. Dick got hammered. Dick got hammered today. Dick got the shit beat out of him. They were slapping Dick around. Dick will rise to the occasion, stuff like that. It was fun. But then season 2 happened and it sucked. Because Akiva Goldsman of Star Trek Discovery Picard fame was writing it. I don't know if he's writing season 3, but nobody talks about the show. DC fans, I hear you, but I'm talking about outside of DC fans. That show was made to appeal to Marvel fans and normies, and nobody talks about it because the quality is shit. And eventually, people just stop talking about it, and it becomes content. So that's what Titans is. They're still making it. Nobody cares. Star Trek should not be it's just some content here and there. It's your crown jewel. Well, it was. Now it's just your piece of poop in your crown. Of all the shows I have encountered, old Star Trek was the most human. Rest in peace, Star Trek. Start the bagpipes. Indeed. Star Trek, thank you, Anti-Pattern Zero, for 1701. Thank you. Star Trek was my happy place. I got home from work in the 90s from delivering auto parts. I'm sure everyone has a story like this, but the 90s were fucking... it was a good decade, man. It was a good decade. I had no fucking money. I was broke. I was sober. I was broke. I was married to my first wife. Wasn't great. for both of us. I don't want to blame it all on her. Okay. Takes two to tango or not to tango, if you know what I'm saying. But Star Trek was the one thing like I enjoyed. Like it was my happy place. I went and did my parts delivery job driving around all fucking day. I put like 300 to 400 miles a day on my little Toyota 95 Toyota pickup with the World Pack sign on it. Yes, I work for World Pack, delivering my auto parts. Perfectly happy with that job. I had no skills when I walked out of prison, zero. And so it paid the bills. Lived in my little cockroach infested $500 a month apartment that was right under the flight pattern of Lindbergh Field in San Diego. And every day when I got home, Star Trek was on. And I could turn on Star Trek and just... And I didn't care what episode it was. And when I like something, I'm not super fucking... I know this might surprise some people. I'm not super fucking picky about it. If it generally wins me over, I'm won over. I'll sit through the good and the bad episodes. I'm cool with it. I can get some enjoyment out of anything. Same with Buffy and Angel. That was on heavy rotation as well. Sat down, watched. But Star Trek was my happy place. Now, I am always a Star Trek, the first series, fan first. I am a Kirk, McCoy, Spock. That's my jam. I grew up on that shit. And as far as kids getting interested in Star Trek, a bunch of kids were interested in Star Trek. And it was the original series. I said it, but that made a lot of Star Trek fans. As a matter of fact, that's what led to the movies being made. Some of the first fan conventions here in America were Star Trek conventions. There was the Mego Star Treks, which I have, Star Trek figures, which I have back there. Some of the first toys I was ever given. And this was long, but I won't say long, but it was before Star Wars. I had my Mego Kirk, my Mego Spock, my Mego McCoy. I had the bridge set, and they would team up with Captain America and Falcon and Spider-Man and go on adventures. Yeah. Star Trek was my happy place. I knew I could watch something. Hey, I might learn a lesson, but I'll be entertained as well. And through its writing, it got through to everyone, absolutely everyone, right, left, center, whoever, because they were morality tales told through allegory. It wasn't divisively political. Unless you want to say, it would tell you that genocide is bad. Murder is bad. Or it would teach you the lesson. Robert Meyer Burnett brought this up in his live stream. Robert Meyer Burnett did a great live stream on this yesterday. Fucking ranted for like an hour. I'm sure it pissed off half his fandom. I think at one point he said he was in the Fandom Menace. Robert, the Fandom Menace is a hashtag. That's all it is. It's not a state of mind. It is not an organized group. It is a hashtag. If you were feeling passionate about your favorite show being thrown down the shitter by a bunch of hacks, I would say, welcome to reality. Welcome to common sense. And welcome to the side of, the right. We have been right the whole fucking time. We're not Nazis. We're not white supremacists. We're not anything other than fans who are tired of watching our shit get destroyed for political reasons. The message always comes first. We have been saying this for years. So in that rant, he made a great analogy. He said the way Kurtzman approaches Star Trek is the way they approached remaking the Brady Bunch. I went, boo, spot on. Exactly. That's exactly how they look at it. That's exactly how they look at it. But they don't give a fuck what we think. Alex Kurtzman doesn't give a fuck. I mean, did you see I got to pull up this picture again from the New York Times because that is some pretentious shit. Like, I am so important. But he got what he wanted. So what can we do? What can we do? Embarrass the shit out of him. How do we embarrass the shit out of him? I don't have to do any work. There's no work that I will need to do to expose that. Look at this. I'm Alex Kurtzman. I'm worth $150 million after, in my opinion, ripping off Anas Abdeen for the blue tardigrade, ripping off what was it, Mass Effect, ripping off other Star Trek, ripping off Battlestar Galactica, Serenity, just everything I can rip off, and I can get away with it because I got $1 billion company backing me. What are you going to do, bitches? I mean, I have no soul. There isn't a creative bone in my body, but so what? I got $150 million because Jar Jar's my friend. So, how do you, there's no way to get back other than laugh. That'll be the one thing that bothers them. If you want to do that, at some point, you got to let the resentment go. You do. You got to move on. But the only thing I'll say is I take it to the fucking bank. It is a certainty Star Trek is dead. And it has been dead for a long, long time. And anything he wants it to be, it will never be. And his legacy will always be the guy who inexplicably got a contract extension to fuck up Star Trek more. He will not be looked at as a success creatively, artistically. And that will probably annoy him a little bit as he cashes his unearned check. But that's the way it goes. That's life. Life isn't fair, folks. And this is proof. This is proof that life isn't fair. This is proof that there is a lot of very dumb motherfuckers with a lot of money to burn. But this is also proof of something else. And if we want to, the big takeaway from this, it's story time. Let's go back a few years. No, a few months. Not a few years. A few months. We'll start that over. California was locked down. A year ago today, California was locked down. We were right around, we had just made the decision to shut down my wife's salon forever, her very successful salon of 15 years. She decided to shut it down. There was a lot of other people in our position doing the very same thing. There was also other people burning through their savings and their children's future to try to stay open on the hope that this was going to get better or go away. And the state of California came out and said, you're not essential. You're not important. In the grand scheme of things in our society, you are not important. You need to stay home because there's a pandemic where most everybody's going to be fine. So, but you're not important. But you know who is? Hollywood. Miraculously, Hollywood is important. Let's look at the grand scheme of things, shall we? Say SMOD arrives tomorrow. SMOD is, by the way, I got it from Armstrong and Getty, a radio show from Sacramento. I want to give the man his due. SMOD is the sweet meteor of death. Say SMOD arrives tomorrow, and SMOD isn't a civilization. It isn't an extinction event, but it's a civilization killer. So, 1.5 miles wide, lands on the land, not into the ocean. Nuclear winter, we're back in the Stone Age. Think it's going to fucking matter if you can pretend? No, it's not. Even if we get like an EMP that burns the power grid for a year. Think it's going to matter if you can pretend or write pretend or help people pretend or direct people pretending? No. So in the grand scheme of things, you matter for shit. But, and that's basically how I, important things. You know what's important? Because I always, God, if for people who used to shop at my store, you know how much I hated it when they said, this is a very important piece of work. Oh, did a defibrillator pop out of the screen? Did this comic book cure cancer? No, it's not important. It's fun. It's nice to have. I think it's necessary within a functioning society, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not that important. But life isn't fair. That's the way it goes. But they were deemed more important than they actually. Gavin Newsom and the state of California went out and said, you don't matter, you matter. You don't matter, you matter. And they decided that Hollywood would matter. Hollywood has received, and by the way, this is 2012 information. I couldn't find any information newer than that because, well, I would say since 2012, the media has been much more compliant with their corporate overlords, and we're not getting real questions answered like, how much does Hollywood receive in subsidies? How much taxpayer money does Hollywood receive? Because they receive a lot of it, by the way, a fucking lot of it. Well, it was estimated back in 2012, $1.5 billion of taxpayer money, of yours and my money. California subsidizes Hollywood this year to the tune of $331 million, and they've been doing it for 10 years. Gavin Newsom has ramped it up. Now, taxation is theft. Taxation is theft. But Hollywood should not be receiving anything from the public. I feel the same way about sports teams. The taxpayer should not be paying for a stadium for a billionaire. Fuck that shit. I like entertainment. It's great, but I don't want to be paying for any of it outside of the ticket that I decide to buy. And it makes it much, much worse after they got bailed out by us again, essentially through the theaters. And I said earlier in the live stream, it's a bad bet. And I saw that bad bet yesterday. So don't tell me Hollywood's essential. Don't come at me with your fucking hand out when you're giving Alex Kurtzman $150 million. Clearly, you have too much money. And not enough cocaine. Spending $150 million on cocaine would make sense. Spending $150 million on Alex Kurtzman in no reality, in no realm where logic exists, makes sense. It doesn't make fucking sense. The board at CBS should be ashamed of themselves, but they're not, because they're not listening to me. And again, they don't watch Star Trek. They wouldn't know the difference of Star Trek or Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica. Sherry Redstone. I thought she was going to come in and be the savior. No, I really didn't, by the way. That's what we were told. Nope, she's not. Oh, and folks, do not be surprised if Kathleen Kennedy is next. If they re-up Kathleen Kennedy, because if you apply the same logic, she's way more successful than Alex Kurtzman. There is no metric anywhere where he has been successful with Star Trek. There's no merchandise. The ratings, when they were made public, they weren't very good. Now, there was one time they were good. If you guys remember, the very first episode, the premiere episode of Star Trek Discovery, was on CBS, and 8 million people watched it. 8 million people watched it, but it was out of curiosity. It's the first Star Trek since 2005, and it was on a major network. But CBS decided to put it on the streaming service instead of putting it on broadcast because they knew it was shit. Alex Kurtzman ended up fucking over Brian Fuller to get for this project, by the way, stabbing the man in the back. If Brian Fuller had run Star Trek, it would have been in much better shape. Brian Fuller is a better writer than Alex Kurtzman, but I'm a better writer than Alex Kurtzman, and I can barely spell. Sip of coffee for the working man. It's going to get worse before it gets better, folks. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But watching this one fall flat in its face will be hilarious. Paramount Plus will belong to somebody else in the next couple of years. My guess, Amazon, and they probably get it at a pretty cheap price. They mentioned it in the article. A lot of these studios aren't big enough to compete in the streaming wars. You need to be, it's like the NFL right now. You can't be a multimillionaire and own a team anymore. You used to be able to be a multimillionaire and own a football team. Now you need to be a billionaire, and not just like 1 billion. You need to have a few billion in the bank to own a sports ball team. For example, the Chargers are owned by Dean Spanos, and they moved from San Diego to LA so they could sell the team. So they fucked over San Diego just so they could sell the team, which they could have done down here, and fuck that guy. But I digress. Sony will probably have to partner with somebody else eventually. MGM just got bought by Amazon, but the government may stop it, which that would be a fucking first. I doubt it, but we'll see if it happens. And Paramount, which has some decent properties, but their streaming service just isn't going to be enough. Same with NBC. It's just not going to be enough. The bar has already been set by Netflix and Amazon. 200 million subscribers. It will take everybody except for Disney Plus years to get to half of that, if they do, which they won't. Streaming wars were over before they began. Amazon, Disney, Netflix, which could fall at some point, and maybe Apple, because they just have, for some reason, a bunch of extra cash lying around because people buy iPhones. And again, I don't know why. I don't know why. Androids are much better. Much, much better. So we will see. But dude, oh my God. Fucking Hollywood. Gayton Jobin, thank you for the 20 Canadian pesos. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. JM, thanks for the $5. The supply chain is breaking down for real, not temporarily from lockdowns. It's deeper. We can't lock down anymore. Yeah, Jay, I talked about that a little bit. Yeah, the Starbucks that's near Target, near my house. It just closed down in the middle of the fucking week because it ran out of coffee. And it's happening time and time again. I just got a bunch of emails that some pre-orders again from 2 years ago from Big Chief, and that I couldn't cancel, and Sideshow aren't showing up. Like, it's going to be delayed again. But certain things just show up out of nowhere, like my Elven Warriors, which I'll show you in a second. No, supply chains are breaking down. Shit is going to get very, very expensive. And I don't know if they'll be able to produce action figures in a couple of years. I don't know if Playmates will be around. Hate to hear about the end of Star Trek. My mom told a story about Dad being deployed to the Gulf between Best of Both Worlds and being pissed. Lifelong fan. Oh, God, that would suck. That would suck. I was locked up. Been doing some reading, and Ralph Epperson's New World Order, written in the 80s, and Rockefeller's 210 Lockstep, the foreshadowing of what is happening in this country and the world over in these books is frightening. Meet Mazit Wazad for $20. Thank you. I'll have to check those out. There's a book called 1984 that's kind of happening right now. A little bit of Animal Farm too. Jane Theory for $5. Star Trek, the original series, is my happy place after work. When I come home, it's on. Yep. Classic Doctor Who, classic Star Trek, heavy rotation. Thank you, Jane Theory. Best time is now for $19.99. I don't want to see Black-pilled, but honestly, at this point, I have no interest in any IP. Only watch you guys for the nerd talk, which I enjoy. Yeah, I think what we're going to end up finding is it will be some independent, like nobody, right? The Green Knight, which is getting killed by some audiences. I'm going to go see it because Tolkien had something involved with in it, and it's Arthurian. Yes, there is a East Asian playing Arthur's nephew, but so what? I'm going to go see it. It's a fantasy. And visually, it looks like the trailer got me. I was like, that looks pretty cool and surreal. I'll go check it out. And I'll let you know if it's good or not. The scene from the Amazon Lord of the Rings show appears to be one of the two light-bearing trees. I didn't see, did I see the tree in the background? I'll go look. But whoa, wait a minute though. That's First Age. Let me go check that out. Yeah, it does. It does. Let me zoom in on this picture before you guys see it. Hang on. Yep. It certainly does. That's it. Yeah, it kind of looked like a sunset, but that is it. Yeah, you're right. Good call there. Let's take a look. Where was I? Yep, that is a tree. And there's another tree right there. It looks, I mean, it's a picture, and it looks Peter Jackson-ish. I can't judge anything on it. Alls I know is J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay being from Bad Robot, which is a scourge on Hollywood. They haven't done anything worth a fuck, in my opinion. I think they've had some moderate successes that are all forgettable. They have done nothing to earn their place in Hollywood. Spielberg, no matter what he's done or said, absolutely has earned his place as one of the greatest directors of all time. People treat Jar Jar like he's Spielberg from the 80s. And I'm trying to think of Spielberg's like worst produced movie, biggest flop, 1941. Fucking Jar Jar hasn't made anything near as good as 1941, which I kind of like. I like it for what it is. I enjoyed it when I was a kid. How many children do you think will be inspired to become NASA scientists by Kurtzman's Star Trek? Roddenberry inspired a generation of them. Yeah. Harry Lime for 5 Canadian pesos. 0, because no kids watch that show. I told the story when my kid was actually going to school 2 years ago. Two of the buddies he was talking to didn't know what Star Trek was. Because they were asking me, they're like, you do a YouTube channel? Well, yeah, I talk about Star Trek. Well, what's that? Hail, Gary. I have been binge watching The Big Bang Theory to learn and be fluid in nerd lingo before next week's Nerdrotic BoomerCon meetup in Vegas. Oh, Bert, for $5. That's funny on so many levels. You won't be, and it's fine. You don't need to be. We all talk like normal people. We don't. You'd have to learn like new SJW speak, like problematic and systematic and cis heteronormativity. Marvel Comics should divide the real 616 universe and the SJW verse so they can see which one sells better. Alex Rod, well, they know the answer to that. That's why they infiltrated it with bullshit. Thank you for the $5. Sir Smokes a Lot for 20 Czechoslovakian pesos. We should send Ron Swanson to Disney so nothing will be finished. Or J.R. or George R. R. Martin. Jason is our current generation of Christopher Tolkien. Back when entertainment was good for $5. Yes. Jason Reitman. I absolutely love what he said in that thing, man. Do not rage watch if you think the franchise has been infected by the woke. Stay away, keep your distance, and wait until the infection has been treated. Says Lost for Words for £5. Well. What's a great example of something that hasn't been treated and isn't raged a lot? When has not talking about something ever changed it? I think abject failure leads to them not making any more. So I think that's kind of a conundrum, shall we say. If something just comes out and falls flat on its face, it's done. I think, well, they haven't learned from the Predator yet, because apparently they're making another one with a female Predator. But I think Terminator is done dead. I am of the belief, especially when it's something as important as Star Trek or Star Wars, you talk about it. But at this point, I think it's up to you guys. I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm not really sure where you go from here. This is unprecedented fucking stupidity. So I'll take it day by day. Emotions are high right now. People are angry. Star Trek is dead. Strange New Worlds is going to come out. I think people will check it out. I'm certainly going to check it out. But I don't expect anything different. It's going to be shit. Sorry, get into my studio again. All right. Ashkor for $10 might have missed my super chat. It's all good. Watch The Green Knight, a weird movie, but good. Well, I'm doing them kind of out of order. I don't know if I missed it. It's missing is not a good term. It's I'll get to it eventually. But I'm kind of flipping back before. I don't know if you're new to the channel. I'm flipping back and forth between super chats and donations. Honey Springs Homestead for $5. Love the channel and all the wokeness can piss off. I do not agree or support it. I loathe it all. As do I. As do I. And there's still people who champion it thinking they're actually making the world a better place by changing their avatar or speaking out against it briefly on Twitter while doing nothing in their real life. Scottish newspaper The National reporting Kelly MacDonald is in the running to be the next Doctor Who, probably garbage, but 2021, etc. Yeah, Scott Vakra for £5. I've heard nobody's in the running. Nobody. But we'll find out. Peter Capaldi announced he was leaving in January of 2017, and it wasn't until June when we found out who the new Doctor was. Toxic Man Flu, Dick's Division for $50. Thank you. Thank you for the Muner. Thank you for the Muner. Star Trek, I hope it was good for you as it was good for me. I'll just leave this $50 on the nightstand and show myself out. I've got to get a penicillin shot after Discovery anyway. Oh, yes. No shit. F name. I name for $5. Amazon must suffer until its dying breath. If it fucks up fucking Lord of the Rings, which I'm pretty sure it will, yeah. Jared Chapman for $5. I keep praying that these hacks never get their hands on B5. Can we at least protect works we want to save? I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know if Michael Straczynski hasn't drank the Kool-Aid. And if maybe he goes back to it and makes his own shit woke. I mean, we're seeing that now, so I don't fucking know. I think the best thing that can happen to any franchise is it gets forgotten. You know, like all the Warhammer peeps that were like, we want a Warhammer movie. No, you don't. Like manga. It's like, oh, manga's winning in America. Yeah, like make sure nobody American gets their bloody hands on on your project. Or European at this point. Thank you for all you do and the crew do for culture and the psyche of the fan base. You guys are more important for both than than you probably realize. Keep up the fight. Thank you, Null Void, for $9.99. I appreciate that. I do. Well, like I said, you keep our sanity as well. It is reciprocal, shall we say. Sir Smoke a Lot for $20 on the donation side. We should send Ron Swanson to do nothing. That was weird. Maybe I read that out of order. My bad. Manowar 665, the neighbor of the beast for $665. I have committed to mentally shut down all this shit. I have committed to mentally shut down all this shit down for the coming week. Vegas, motherfucker. Hell yeah. Oh, dude, it's all good. Well, we had Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker leaving, which was kind of good news for a minute. And then we got Kit Kurtzman getting extended. So those are two franchises that are fucking long dead and had little hope of turning around. Now, it sucks because they can turn around. They can turn around anytime they want. They can just erase the recent past and move forward, and everybody would be fine. They'd have a few people bitching on Twitter. Look, Ghostbusters, do you see them folding? There's people bitching about it, and they're being ignored. That is how you do it. What Ghostbusters is doing right now is the path. Is the path to redemption for any franchise to the majority of your audience. We'll see how many franchises follow this path, and let's cross our fingers and hope that Ghostbusters Afterlife is a good movie with mass appeal that doesn't have any identity politics or divisiveness, and it just fucking kills at the box office. It just destroys. It makes billions. And it sells tons of fucking merchandise. And Ghostbusters has good merchandise. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, Daniel. And what happened to Daniel? Daniel, thank you for the $10 donation. I appreciate it. Sean the Movie Man, 71 for $2. How far are we from Demi Lovato as the new Rocky? We're pretty fucking close. We are pretty close. I don't know if you guys saw Sly Stallone's talking about talking with Kurt Metzger, talking about Kevin Smith. Go check it out. It's on Kyle Dunnigan's channel. It's fucking hilarious. It is hilarious. Hail Nerdrotic. Gary, I just wanted to know if you have read Judge Dredd Apocalypse War. It was really fun, action-packed story starring the tough lawman. John Platt for £5. Hang on. I haven't read Judge Dredd since Dredd came out. I'm thinking. I don't know if, hang on. Let me look. I need a visual. I have not. I'll have to read it. I'll have to read that one. I will check it out. I fucking love Judge Dredd. Did you see my email to you and Az about longbow hunters? Push-ups 2345 for $2. I have not. I will check it out. We will eventually talk about it, maybe tomorrow on the Real BBC. Honey Springs Homestead for $5. Love the channel. Oh, I read that one already. And I need to get down here. There's Jane Theory. Sean ATHF for $10. It says, it's a sad day for Star Trek, but thanks, Gary, for being here to share my pain. Hail Friday Night Tights. Hail to you, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. I was doing the hashtag RIP Star Trek a year or so ago, a couple years ago. I don't know if I'm the first one to do it. I started doing it after I started doing RIP Doctor Who. When I heard some very interesting news that was correct at the time that, it was based on Parrot Analytics. They were saying that, Star Trek was a success because people were talking about it, and they were basing the success of Star Trek on everybody talking about it, positive or negative. Basically, if we did the hashtag Star Trek, the hashtag, Star Trek, that would help them. So I just thought, hey, what if we not use those hashtags? What if we not use hashtag Doctor Who, hashtag Star Trek? Why don't we do RIP Doctor Who or RIP Star Trek? Or I don't know who came up with Fake Trek. That's a good one too. I use that one quite a bit. Fake Trek, hashtag Fake Trek in capital letters. But yeah, it's been a while. I think it's just been dead for a while. But our hopes were dashed yesterday. WG for $50. Says, hail, Gary. The only authorized use of I've Got the Power outside of the Masters of the Universe is a Snap song, The Power, which, in my opinion, is best played to Jeff Speakman as he karates the shit out of 1980s bad guys. Keep up the great work, brother. And thank you, WG, for the $50. Is that the I Got the Power? I remember that song. I do. But wasn't that 90s? I could be wrong. Thank you, WG, for the $50. Devin H for $10. I tell my friends the movies are supposed to be an escape from the world, but like for Marvel to just say it was never escapism and was always woke because Stan Lee said so. Stan Lee said anything he was told to say later on in his life. The word woke wasn't around. And woke has an entirely different meaning to us as it does to them. We use it as a general and broad term. Woke is Marxist beliefs. The woke folks think they are fighting for the little guy, for the marginalized person, for the person who can't fight for themselves. That's hubris to think that somebody can't fight for themselves. And we'll fight for you, and we'll tell you, as long as you say what we want you to say. But the minute you step out of line, little lady, Gina Carano, then you're the villain. That's what it's like to have allies and not friends. Fuck allies, by the way. Cisco H for $10. Any gonna lie? I'm not gonna lie. That first screenshot from Amazon's Middle Earth show looked really good. Yeah, it looks good. Looks fine. Very inoffensive and Lord of the Rings looking. And if by some miracle they make it as Tolkien as possible, I'll be happy. And just to inform the bottom feeders and the ankle biters that me liking something or not liking something has zero to do with my motivation to make a project, because I can make just as much money either way. Either way. If I ripped the Snyder Cut, I probably would have gotten the same amount of views than I did for liking it. That's not the motivation. I would love to review 3 good movies in a row, because that hasn't happened yet. Not in the last couple of years. That would be nice. Hopefully, The Green Knight will be good. Hollywood has not represented hot black girls. They need movies to represent our underserved community, says Rough Girl for $4.99, a hot black girl. So there you go. Thank you, Rough Girl. Mad Cat, 15 for $5. My first ship was the Excelsior my mom purchased for me when I was 8. Going to miss Star Trek. Thank God for all the DVDs and the action figures. Yep. But Gary, I am a fan of Star Trek, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, The Last of Us, World of Warcraft, He-Man. I'm just fucking tired, says Les Chevaliers du Lace. Yeah. Ghostbusters? Just go back to the old then. You don't need to waste your time with the new. I don't want to depress anybody. That's the last thing I want to do, but I do want to prepare you. Like here in California, we gonna get locked down again. We are going to get locked down again. It is a fucking take that to the bank. It's going to happen, which will fuck Hollywood, because Hollywood really needs California to be open and theaters to be open. The first sign will be, I don't know. I think Shang-Chi will make it. I think it'll make it in the theaters, but Eternals, bet you that goes on Disney Plus. I swear to Christ, if they come for Gundam, it'll be a crusade, says Brightest Day for $4.99. Hell, it should be a crusade. I think we're on a crusade already, but yeah. Demi Lovato as Rocky. That's a possibility. Jay Schwalbach for $20 had a hat made for you as a thank you. Was signed for the July 14th. It was signed for on July 14th. I'm not a hat salesman. I'm a realtor. Wasn't trying to sell you anything. Did you get it? I have a P.O. box. Jay Schwalbach, and I have not opened the hat box yet. I don't know if it was picked up in the run or not, but I will check. And when it is, it will go on Instagram, and then it will go on Toxic Mailbag. But follow me on Instagram, Jay Schwalbach, which is Instagram.com/Nerdrotic, and everything that is sent via P.O. Box gets posted there eventually. I have a lot to do. So when I go through my P.O. Box stuff, I like to take time and go through it and read all the letters and stuff. And that's usually in one sitting. But yeah. Oh, hey, if you're I'm glad you're a realtor. We need realtors right now. We're looking for houses. No, we have somebody helping us out in Texas. But thank you. I appreciate that. Ash Core for $10 might have missed my super chat. Oh, I read that one. So I got to find the super chat part because that's in the donation. That's why. Maybe it's in the donation side. The previous one. I don't see it. Are you sure it went through? Here, let me refresh. Nope, only one came through. I don't know if a previous one was there, but only one came through. Sorry. Fictions for $1. Did you watch the new Suicide Squad, and what's your opinions? I am going to see it Thursday, and then I'll review the review. My review will be out Friday, but here in the States, it doesn't open until Thursday. It's also going to be on HBO Max at 4 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. I'm going to go see it in the theater. Fuck it. I'm going to see it in the theater. And then I'll do my review, and it should be out Friday or Saturday. Fictions for $1. Oh, thank you. That was it. Lost for Words for $3. Just to add, keeping away from any woke infection franchise shouldn't mean we can't talk about it. We just have to avoid feeding the infection. Thank you for your work, and hail Friday Night Tights. Exactly. Listen, it's got to be there's no blanket response to any of this, right? Lost for Words. Some franchises, by all means, black pill the fuck out of them. I stopped buying Marvel and DC comics, and Star Wars is dead. I don't give a fuck what Star Wars does. There is nothing they can do to make me interested in their product anymore. My interest is died. They killed it. And I'm not hanging on any hope that things are going to get better, because I don't think they're going to be. I think, as a matter of fact, that Disney is going to do what CBS just did. I could be wrong. But do not be surprised to see Kathleen Kennedy get re-upped. Why would they get rid of her? CBS was just able to ignore the most of their fan base. They don't even care. Like, re-signing Kathleen Kennedy, I think, is insane. I think she's been fucking horrible, but you can at least point to one success, The Mandalorian. Now, she managed to fuck that up too. But at least she's got one. Kurtzman doesn't have shit. It makes no sense. I am more convinced than ever that CERN did something. We went through a black hole. We're in some kind of fucking alternate reality where stupid wins all the time. Okay, folks, I got to wrap this buddy up. I got to wrap this potty up. I am going to be on late tonight with Nick Rekieta. I'm going to be on Rekieta Law. We're going to be talking about liberty and what it means, and why I think a lot of people take it for granted. It's something that I lost for a long period of my life, and I took it for granted until I lost it. So we're going to talk about, like, how I lost my liberty and how I got my liberty back, and how I'm not going to let my liberty go without a fucking fight. nasty, bloody one if that's what it takes. So that'll be 9 p. Is it 8 or 9? I think it's 9. 8 or 9. But look, go follow Nick Rekieta on Twitter. Look at my Twitter too. So it's 8 or 9 p.m. Pacific time. I think he's in Central, so it's 2 hours because he's in Minnesota. And I am obviously in Escondido, California. So Bart and Bella for $10 to save California, vote Larry Elder. And can someone reach out to Rand Paul and Trey Gowdy for presidential ticket? Look at the doctor, go after Dr. Fauci. Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Paul. Big fan of Paul. Larry Elder, I'll look into. I tend to not trust California politicians, especially if Larry Elder is like, Barton, I don't know who he is, but if he's like anything like a rhino, I got no time for fucking rhinos. Fuck rhinos. They're just as bad. I mean, I don't see a difference between a rhino and Biden. They're just politician. Generic bullshit politician who will get nothing done, who will say a lot of stuff for his team and his side. I am so fucking fed up with the two-party system. So I am a anarcho-capitalist. That's what I am. Heavily on the anarcho side. Don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do, and we'll get along just fine. I live within the rules of this society, and for the most part, for most of my life, I was left alone. I didn't break any laws, and I was left alone. I could do pretty much whatever I want. Now we can't. I don't like it. Apparently, it's heavily rumored that Daniel from RPK, that Marvel, is looking to race swap the Fantastic Four. They're allowing no white people auditions. Space Trooper for $4.99 called that years ago. If Daniel, I don't know who Daniel from RPK is, but we have talked about it like on every Friday Night Tights for at least the last 6 Friday Night Tights. The Fantastic Four are not going to look like, when I say the Fantastic Four are not going to look like Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four, what I'm saying is they're not going to be white. And I've been saying it for 3 years on this channel. 3 years. They are not going to be white. And if the Fantastic Four aren't white, then they're not on brand. Then it's just some alternate, ultimate version of the Fantastic Four, which might succeed. I doubt it. But, I mean, no offense, but if some scooper is going out there and acting like that's a fucking scoop, it's like, yeah. If my grandma was still alive, she would have saw that coming, whether she was alive or wasn't alive. That is the most obvious, on-the-nose thing they're going to fucking do, I promise you. I would be shocked if they were fucking white. All this woke crap reminds me of being woke up in Haunting of Hill House. If Amazon likes Lord of the Rings, it'll never order from them again. Oh, if Amazon screws up Lord of the Rings, I will never order from them again. They're not much better than AliExpress now anyway. Yeah, I don't think it would be tough. I think you can live without Amazon. Amazon, the only thing I buy from Amazon, unless it's a fucking emergency, which I had an emergency, is like little shit that I just like. I don't want to make a trip to the store for an Ethernet cable. But I would. Now, I had to buy a fucking laptop on Amazon. I wanted to go to Dell and build my own, but it was like a fucking month I got to wait. And we got Vegas coming up. I'm like, shit, I don't have a laptop. I got a Surface Pro, but that's not enough. The opposite of hate is not love, it's indifference. As a 50-plus-year-old, never thought possible I'd be indifferent to Star Trek and Star Wars. Hail Gary. Heartbreak Ridge for $5, right? I said it earlier, all the shit that's coming out this year, if there was no woke involved, we'd be fucking excited beyond belief because we're starting to hit some of the deep lore with Marvel and stuff. And now we're just like, no. I think the only thing that has a fucking snowball's chance in hell of being possibly good are Suicide Squad and fucking Venom. Yes, the Venom trailer, the Carnage trailer. It looks like it was made in 2004, and I am completely fucking okay with that. It looks like the first Venom movie, I thought it was fine because it wasn't woke. And I'll fucking take that right now. I'll take it. Hail, Gary, I'm a huge Iron Man fan. I'm sad he died in Endgame, but glad he did before they could make him woke in the MCU. Well, Jubbs McGee for £5. They still can through Ironheart, so don't watch Ironheart. Sorry, Gary, I code all day, and it's tough to listen as I'm terrible at multitasking. I have always tried to catch you later on, though. I cannot wait to hear your takes on the recent trash fire, says Daniel for $10. Oh, no worries. I will be doing videos, Daniel. I will be doing videos. All right, one quick scan here. Bart and Billa, I got. Okay, folks. Bearded Old Bear. Did I read this one? Okay, yeah. I realized early on that things I was a fan of were going places I didn't like. So I got into anime and manga around 2012 and never looked back. For $5, that's Bearded Old Bear. Good. Fucking good call, dude. Good call. Unpopular movie opinions for $20. Says, to paraphrase Milton Friedman, people think capitalism is just a profit system. Oh, I'll read it again. But it really is just a profit and loss system, and the losers are just as important as the profits. Just keep hitting Hollywood and in their wallets. Absolutely. All right. Thanks again to the Modrotics. Thanks again to Mrs. Nerdrotic, who is getting all your merch together. She is killing it right now. Thanks again to X-Ray Girl. Thanks again to my crew on Friday Night Tights. We had another record show, and the episode is approaching 100,000 subscribers. Should be there tomorrow. So that's like the 5th or 6th in a row. Fucking A. Thanks for everyone who watched my video. I'm sorry. I could have made 5 videos over the weekend, and I just didn't because I'm working on that Lord of the Rings stuff. But I will crank one out for one of these things. Thanks to everyone who super chats and donates. You help keep the lights on. I appreciate you all. They will be read in a super chat square up. We don't leave one behind. We eventually get to them. Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. Sorry about that, but it will happen. Our guest on Friday Night Tights. Can I announce our guest on Friday Night Tights? I don't know. Hang on. Let me see. Yeah, I think we can. We'll show his pretty little face right here. Clifton Duncan will be returning this Friday, so tune in. The ladies will like this one. Maybe we'll have him sing happy birthday if there's any birthdays. My birthday is coming up. Of course, we have Vegas, August 11th through 15th. The 2 meetup dates are the 12th and the 14th at the Millennium Fandom Bar. If you need information, just go ahead and go to nerdrotic.com and look to the right, and you can click on and get all the information for the event. There will be, again, swag to give away, swag to sell. We got the fake Geek Tears Friday Night Tights cup is available. We have a Friday Night Tights shirt, which is available, which I should have shown on Wednesday's Nooner. I'll have all this stuff ready. Yeah. So we have merch out there, and thank you for all your support. We're gearing up for the event. And again, that's a thank you to you guys for giving us this. This is unbelievable. Like I said, it's a surreal experience. It's like winning the lottery. I get to talk about nerdy shit for a living. It's fucking incredible. So, and that's thanks to you. So You guys fucking rock. I will see you tomorrow on The Real BBC on Heel versus Babyface at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I will also see you tonight on Ricada Law at, I believe, 8 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. Pacific. Not sure what time. Then Nerdrotic Nooner will return Wednesday at, I don't know, between 11 and 1, depending on if I get a video done or not. Then, of course, Friday Night Tights. And then it'll all start over again. So cheers, everyone. Please enjoy some credits.
Nerdrotic.com